good afternoon and a warm welcome to you from wherever you're watching from. My name is Tony Nyango, and this week you're bringing you another exciting edition of Face to Face with the Gen Z. And today, election campaigns are already on high gear, and we want to look at the presidential campaigns. What makes a president worth electing? We look at what is the expectation of young people in a presidential candidate or in a president for this matter. And this we do in line also with the 2027 election campaigns, the 2027 game plan, and the road to the ballot. Today here in studio are a group of young people, the Gen Zs, and we want to look at it through their lenses. We want to look at what is their expectation. What do they look for when they want to select or when they want to elect a leader? At this moment, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, and later on I'm going to come up to my panelists who are also going to help us unpack this conversation today here. So stay with us, stay tuned, and watch even as we get into the discussion. Feel free to also share your comments with us. We'll get an opportunity to read them and to answer some of the questions which shall come as we proceed. At this moment, let me welcome you to Face with Gen Z. Karibuni sana REDRING. Feel much welcome. Na take it away, Sindio. Let's start with you, Kerry. Tuanze from upper introductions, and then we'll go to proceed. Sindio. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you very much, OTB, and for organizing this brilliant conversation. And I think at a time when it's really needed ahead of the 2027 elections, because it's just the beginning. It does not end with elections. So my name is Kerry Mwita. I am a human rights defender and a final year student of law. I run a social justice campaign called Your Voice, Your Power, which is basically a campaign that seeks to strengthen active citizenship, but also champion for policy reforms for advancement of gender justice, democracy, and also social accountability. And I'm excited to deliberate for this intergenerational dialogue. Thank you.
Yes. Let us make it a bit interesting, Kerry. Maybe you could tell us one of the commissions, the constitutional commissions that we have in our country, and the rest of us can also maybe follow suit. Sindio, mention two commission moja sema ya mwenzako.
Okay, Tony, they may not be as enough independent commissions for each one of us, but okay. As for me, I would mention the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which basically works to enforce anti-corruption and anti-graft laws.
Okay, thank you so much. Tumklokie guys, jamani, sindio? Here we clock. So yes, Duke.
Okay, thank you, Tony. My name is Duke Busio, and I happen to come from Kitui County. And to say, I am also a law student at MKU, and I'm more than excited to be here today to have deliberation on this. Let me not prolong the introduction.
Yeah.
The conversation today is presidential.
Yeah.
And for the commission, I will go with the Public Service Commission.
You see. So.
Yes, my name is Hassan Lewa, the president of Vuguvugu la Vijana na Maendeleo Pwani. I come from Kilifi County, but from an extension, I traverse the entire coast region, fighting and defending the development for these regions, which has been undermined and neglected for a very long time. For my commission, I'll go with the Kenya Law Reforms Commission, in charge of scrutinizing laws, looking whether there's outdated laws, and making sure that our constitution and our laws are up to date. Thank you.
Asante sana.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Valerie Ndanu. I come from Machakos University. I'm pursuing Bachelor of Science Electrical Engineering. I'm happy to be here. And the commission that I'm going to talk about is a National Land Commission.
Wow. Asante sana.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Andrew Mwoki Wambua. I come from Makueni County, Mboni constituency. I'm a final year student at the University of Nairobi, pursuing a political science and public administration degree. And on the commission that I know is the Commission for University Education that regulates universities. Yeah.
Let us proceed, Pale. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Christabel Mideve Boso. I'm not a Gen Z, but I'm a millennial. I'm an advocate. And so maybe I will just mention a commission, which is the Judicial Service Commission that I also work with and I work for.
Asante sana.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Aaron Odhiambo. I come from Nyatike constituency, Migori County. I'm also a resident of Nairobi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Broad-Based Government Nyanza Region. I'm the Secretary General. I'm the Secretary General of the Karungu Youth, that is a CBO in Nyatike constituency. And I'm an engineer by profession, a building and construction engineer. So maybe just to mention a commission though my learned friend has mentioned that he worked with, but that is now my commission that I'm mentioning. The Judicial Service Commission that is being headed by the Chief Justice of Kenya, that is Martha Koome, deputized by the Deputy President, that is the Deputy Chief Justice, and 5 other commissioners.
Wait.
Thank you.
To clock my guys, Noma sana.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Quinta Awino, a student, a final year student at the University of Nairobi, taking political science. I'm happy to be here. OTB, thank you for having us. To mention our commission, I'll mention the Parliamentary Service Commission, headed by the Speaker.
Wow.
Jambo everyone.
Jambo.
My name is Kimberly Grace from the University of Nairobi. I'm a mobilizer. My strength also lies in conducting civic education and also interested in the sector of SRHR. And just to mention a commission, I'll go with the IEBC, which is in charge of overseeing elections and also voter registration and political parties. Thank you.
Wow. Noma sana. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Philemon Omondi from Mary, an actual student awaiting graduation from Mary University. On commission, I'll go with the Kenya Revenue Commission. That's
Ni mbaya. Thank you so much. Let us clap for ourselves, guys. Yeah, so thank you so much for that round of introductions. I'm happy with the direction conversation inachukua. Guys, mko top, so feel much welcome, feel at REDRING. At this point, allow me to go to the panel to also give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and also mention a commission. Ama wasi mention? Yes, so maybe we can start with you, Weshivio.
Thank you very much. My name is Martin Ogindo, and I'm a law student at the University of Nairobi. And on commission, TSC Menda. Teacher Service Commission.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next to Mheshimiwa.
You have it all.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Nyamur. I realize that almost all of us are students here. I'm also a student. I'm a student of law. And I'm happy to be here. About commission, I think they've all been mentioned. So let me mention the National Land Commission.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah?
Land
Land Commission. See.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Kumolo. I'm an advocate of the High Court and also a law lecturer. Commission zote hazijaenda. There are far too many to yeah. If you allow me, I'll mention almost all of them. But maybe let me go with the Commission on Administration of Administrative Justice, the one we call a goods person. Ziko mingi, I can give mwalimu one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, mwalimu.
My name is Odoyo Owidi, the convener of this session. And the commission I can think of now is Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Yes, that's also a commission.
Asante sana. Let us clap for our panelists. Wao pia wamejaribu. Wamepata zote, si ndio? Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll get right into it. We want to talk about the upcoming elections, the 2027 general election. How many of us voted in 2022? By a show of hands? Okay. How many of us are voting in 2027? Okay. So we want to discuss that. What do you look for in a presidential candidate? I know so many people have presented themselves for elections, and I know there are also other positions you are going to vote for, from the MCA to member of parliament to women rep, hizo zote, si ndio? And I know that you people are trying, saizi mnaangalia, especially as the young people and as Gen Zs. I know in 2024 we went to the streets and we called for certain reforms, and I know that in 2027 we have an opportunity then to elect the next leadership of the country, si ndio? So that is the topic we are discussing today. Ni nini unaangalia as a young person? What are these 3 things that for you must be in a person for you to elect them? So nikupatia nafasi, I want just to understand from a layman's perspective, ni nini unaangalia? Is it accountability? Is it integrity? Is it ideology? Is it tribe? Unajua kuna mtu anaweza sema pia I want to vote my tribe's person. Kuna mtu atasema maybe it is age. Are you looking for a young person? Are you looking for a competent person? Sindio? So who wants to go first to skie? Maybe tuanze pale kwa Mwoki, ameniangalia sana. Najua ako na answer. Yes.
Thank you, Tony. And for me, what I would look for from a candidate, for a presidential candidate, is a ideology that he carries when he is campaigning for the presidency. For the presidential elections, we have had candidates who have run for presidency, and we have maybe President Ruto. He had the better ideology, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We had Uhuru Kenyatta, who had the Big Four agenda.
Yeah.
We had President Moi. We had President Kenyatta. So for me, I look for ideology-based politics.
Okay.
Yes.
So for Andrew, it is ideology. Si lazima ukubaliane na huyu unaangalia kitu nyingine, si ndio? So maybe we can go to Valerie tuambie, are you also looking for ideology?
Thank you, Tony. I think everyone is looking for ideology, but we also need a president who's willing to, not willing, who owns up to whatever he has said. If he has said he'll do so and so, he follows through and does it. So I'm going to look at the presidential candidates there, and I will look based on, I will examine them, let me say that, based on what they had said previously, be it the minor things, did they follow through with whatever they said? Because as you can see, our current president, most of the things he had said that he would do, most of them he actually did them. So when I'm going to be looking for that presidential candidate, I'm going to consider that, are they is that person, like, are they the kind of person who will actually follow through with whatever they have said, or they're just all talk?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Valerie. Let's move to Hassan, and maybe you can tell us. Unasema mkaangalia do.
You see, the quality of a presidential candidate carries the vision that he has for this country. You see, for us, Kenya, when you talk about the vision for Kenya, it means that you've involved every region in this country, because we come from at a point where we have people who speak big, but at the end of the day, they run the government for 10 years and there's nothing tangible that has been done beyond Nairobi, beyond certain regions. And then the reason why I was very pleased with the president's address when he talked about beyond Vision 2030, because it means that we have a chance as young people to be part of that conversation where we will be included in championing for our areas. I come from the coast region where we have areas that have remained undermined in terms of development, the right word is marginalized. The areas have been marginalized for a very long time. And if it were not for the president with the number of roads and several projects that he's doing in the coast region, perhaps these areas would have never been remembered. But you see, when the president comes in and he has done a little things, mind you, the areas did not really vote for him when it came to the 2022 general elections. Yes. But now we have that chance of, as the coast region, we need to come together, put our voice together and vote for this man, because he has done the little that he has done without us voting for him. But now when we vote for him, it would be. But as I finish up, I want governors to have the visions of presidential visions in terms of the little amount that is coming from their budget that has been set aside for development. Let's talk about that 30%. It needs to be actually put in place for development in our places. For us, Vugu, we talk about rural development. We need to make sure that all those rural areas that we have in our areas have to also see development, because if I'm finishing up, I'm saying there are areas that will never see any form of development in that county for that 5 years. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leo, for that. So profound. I think for you, it's equality and inclusivity really standing out, and also a challenge to the governors of our time to have presidential vision. Yes, let's move to you, Duke, and maybe you can tell us whether you agree with your three colleagues.
Sure, they are very articulate, and what they have said, it's things we should take into consideration whenever we are coming to presidential, the people aspiring to be presidents in this country. But Tony, I think history has told us lessons. And I think by now we should have decided on the few people who we want to elect come 2027 as president. And mine have already made a decision from the previous elections we have seen in this country, learning from history. And I cannot have expectations from someone who I'm not going to elect. So I have expectations for one presidential candidate, and that is and that is His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. And the reasons I will base my reasons on why I am particularly on him and not any other person, on the provisions of the Constitution, specifically under Article 131 and Article 132. And it's a president first who protects and upholds the Constitution. We have seen previously most of the people we elect as presidents, they don't regard the Constitution. And we know the Constitution is the document that guides the direction this country takes. And His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is someone who is a doctor of law. Okay. And
I don't know
he's a senior counsel. On top of that, he's a doctor. And another thing is someone who promotes national unity and cohesion, so that if you come into office, you are considering every region of this country. I like giving example from where we come from. We are hearing the current government has constructed over 18,000 kilometers of road, and when you go there, they amount to less than 100 kilometers, and then you wonder, are we part of that government? So
okay.
No, let me continue. Okay. It's mine.
Okay.
and the other thing is someone who protects citizens' rights and freedoms. We have seen multiply in this country people being abducted. We have seen killings happening, and it's something that is very bad. And another first thing is someone who fights for corruption and ensures accountability.
Tunasema tu candidates wenu hivyo. But ni sawa. Thank you so much, Duke, for that and for the courage. Na najua all of you will get an opportunity to respond by this. Ndio hapa tunasemanga we listen, we don't judge. Sindio? Let's go to you, Kerry.
Thank you very much, Tony. I think can you it's also, I think, very important to understand, even before I just go into what I'm looking for in a presidential candidate. For many of us who are coming from marginalized areas, myself included, I come from Kuria, which is basically a marginalized area around the border of Kenya and Tanzania. To also understand that we have also been taxpayers of this country since independence. So much as we're also seeing development for the first time, it's also important to know that we deserve so much more, because it's also not only your constitutional right, but you're also funding the national taxpayers basket. And so for what I would look for really in a leader, first, I think, which is bare minimum, respect for the rule of law. For heaven's sake, it's the barest of things. It's immaterial. The best of economic policies that you bring, if you do not have respect for human life. Okay. Article 28, human dignity of our constitution. UDHR, Article 1, still talks about human dignity. So human dignity is really at the center of this. So respect for the rule of law. Second, I would look and interrogate concrete economic policies. You're bringing in a lot of promises in terms of industrialization and everything. Where are you going to remove the money? Aside from just, we will seal corruption. Of course, corruption is a menace. Aside from just sealing corruption, where are you getting the money? How are you raising money for these government projects? The other thing, I will look at the track record, and I think it's something we ignore. I'm not really surprised by whatever government is doing right now in Kenya, really. It's been the track record of nearly all the people in government. As a matter of fact, most of them have not changed. If anything, the Kenya Consumer government, for instance, is implementing the same manifesto that it was elected into office. So I really don't think anything has changed. We just may have ignored the track record of leaders when it comes to their performance. And the last thing really is a leader who listens and also consults. There's even a joke that the government will advise you how to advise it. Much as they have as many advisors, I think over 100. So I elect a leader who also listens and has a track record of listening, not someone who is a know-it-all. You cannot be having a degree and you know engineering, you know healthcare, you know agriculture. You can't be knowing everything. Yeah. So basically, also a leader who listens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kiris. To clock, my guys. I think that was so profound, and I appreciate your sentiments in that regard. Maybe we can go to kwa ile corner, sindio? When nilisema, and then you go this way. And I'm happy. I like the way the conversation is moving. You are actually allowed to mention, kama you feel there's a leader actually who aligns with whatever you're looking for. Unaweza sema tu mimi nayo, I feel this is the leader who embodies whatever I'm talking about, sindio? Anyway, hapa unfiltered conversations. Unasema venye iko, sindio, Aaron? Yeah. So tuanze huko kwenu.
I think for me, this will be the third time, actually the fourth time I'm voting, because I voted in 2013, 2017, 2022. So this is the fourth time I'll be voting. And so because, Kenya is a very tribal country, and anyone who does not want to admit that, I think is being very, very untruthful and very dishonest. And, people have already started going back, to their tribal cocoons and whatnot. Yeah. So for me, I'll be looking at somebody who's very inclusive. That for me is what I'll be looking at. So, somebody who's very, very appreciative of the fact that, Kenya is diverse. We are very many tribes, and who exactly is actually, going to create an opportunity where, everyone feels like they are included in the governance of this country. So for me, that is, that's my bare minimum. I need an inclusive, a person who speaks inclusivity, because, everyone who's talking about coming from regions that are marginalized, you're marginalized because somebody chose not to be inclusive. So I will be looking out for a leader who's very, very inclusive.
Thank you so much. To clock jamani. Point ni hivi hapo nyuma ama ndo maana mmeketi. Thank you so much for that, and inclusivity tena ime stand out hapo tena.
Maybe just to start, let me say we are going to election tomorrow. These are one of the things that I will look into, a presidential candidate. And these are one of the same things that made me to elect President William Samoei Ruto for this term that is now serving. Number one, commitment to the rule of law. Commitment to the rule of law in that it will help us to elect a government for the people, by the people, and the people. A democratic government, a government where everybody is somebody. A government where every voice matters. Just like now we are witnessing in the government of President William Samoei Ruto. If it could not be President William Samoei Ruto, maybe we could have not been here. Because this is a clear indication that there is a freedom of expression from all walks of the government institution, from the judiciary up to the executive and up to the legislature. That is why we always even go to the parliament to make the bills. At some point of time when they goes to the citizens, we turn them down, we bring them back. In that we want a government where everybody agrees with the government policies, the government plans, and the government development. Number two, one thing that again I will look into, a strong leadership. You can remember Bwana Ost when we had the Gen Z protest. Yes. It is a decision that not everybody could have made it. It is a decision that our honorable, our respected President William Samoei Ruto made just to bring peace within our country. It is a decision that if we could have assumed, let me say, we could have the candidate of this, my good friend here, Kalonzo Musyoka. You can remember the way Kalonzo Musyoka ran away from Baba when they went for the Bible. That is an indication that that man is not fit for that higher office.
He's not strong enough.
Yeah, he's not strong enough. And that is a person, if you risk electing, my friend, you will burn this country. We need a person that is strong. We need a person that is future-oriented. And we need a person that has got a Solomonic wisdom. A person that can stand on his own. A person that can manage this country with a lot of wisdom from all the government ministries. So those are one of the qualities that I will check, and I will also consider them again when I will be re-electing our honorable President William Samoei Ruto. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Aros. Tumklokie magai. Jamani, he has been so passionate about it. Ameiongelea sana. Hamtaki kumklapia juu ana support rais jamani. Yes, thank you so much Aaron for that. I think that is the way to go, and the other ones pia to follow to suit hivyo. And I don't know, but today is Girlfriend's Day, but anyway. Yes,
Thank you, TB. For me, I'll be looking, one of the things are obviously ideology, their vision, and this is their manifestos, how practical they are, and not just promises that they will not live up to. Another thing, I'll also echo on what my sister has said, inclusion in terms of bringing together regions, tribes, communities, and also ages and years, have the old, their youths, for us to move together as a country. Yes.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. No, bado si last. Kimberly, na hujasema you are a member of Young Captains. I'm only talking. Yes, karibu.
Thank you. I would say for me, Kenya stands out to be a youthful country, and as I got to election, I would look for a youthful leader, not necessarily at age, because these politicians have also made us to believe that they're youthful at heart. So, so I will look for a leader who has the youth ideologies, youth vision at heart, and then also politics. Being a student of politics, we are told politics is about who gets what, where, and when.
Wow.
So as a leader, I feel these leaders should be in a capacity to empower these young people. See, not setting up pay bills. Okay, I don't refuse that. No, okay. We are already being ripped of our economical rights at some point, but why should you again set up pay bills for you to siphon funds from these common wananchi instead of you empowering them? So as a leader, you should be able to devolve, and then as well, you should be able to keep up with whatever you say. You should be able to keep up with whatever you say. When you promise the young people that you're going to do this to them, ensure you keep up to your word. Just like he said, track record is equally important. And that is one of the things that we should be keeping into consideration when we go to elect people. And then another thing that I feel is equally vital is personality. Allow me say, how is it called? Kalonzo. We saw during the protest, when these people are going to be arrested, he didn't stand up with them. Uliona vizuri yeye na Martha Karua, they were ushered into a vehicle and ran away. Wakaacha hao watu during the commemoration of the Gen Zs who had fallen. You remember? Yeah, so that was so bad. As a leader, you should be able to make tough decisions, however much you are compelled. Like, he should have just stood with them because he already volunteered, is coming to the streets. I would call out these young people, let them not fall a prey into the manipulation of politicians. Politicians are just politicians. That is why we should be able to differentiate. Let us not be lured. At this point, you're going to be used, because now campaigns are being rolled out. You're going to be used as mobilizers. You're going to be used as groundsmen. You're going to be their wise men there. Then you see, at the end of the day, itakuwa kazi kwa mwananchi, pesa kwa wenye nchi. It shouldn't be that way. It should be a position where huyu mtu akifika huko mbele, he will call you as young people into this decision-making table. I don't like it when young people are just used as tools of representation. And let's just call young people to the table so that we can curb that momentum. They're not decision makers. So that is not good. So for me, I would choose a leader who resonates with the young people, because again, for this older generation, they are already living. We are the ones who are going to be left with that gap and maybe the mess that they are going to create. So they should be considerate. That is why I would also give flowers where it belongs. When the late Baba called for dialogue between the young people, he wanted to bridge that gap. And the president of the day has also ensured that, I think it's on 12th August, that he'll also come to the young people and listen to what they want, which is also a good step forward. So for me, when re-electing, or because I'm a first-time voter, when I'll be going to the ballot, those are the things I will be considering, because young people have been empowered through his regime. And one thing that I feel leaves him out is communication. You know, when you're doing good good things, people don't say. That is why I appreciate these politicians who will even video you when they're giving you money, because people don't appreciate out there. You know, you will give them today, they will eat with your name, and then hawata sema thank you. One what a front lead people who are about mathing you. Ati? Of course, yes, utawapatia watakuharibu jina, but it will remain in the records that you did something good. You see? Yeah, so I feel like if the president had communication strategies, he will be somewhere, because he's really doing a lot. For the first time, we're even having a president who has gone to Wajir and maybe spent nights there, you know. However much people are saying they will not eat stadiums, they will not eat roads. Look at the bigger picture. You look at the devolution that Baba was talking about. It's through these roads, it's through these stadiums and all that, you know. So, thank you.
I want you to leave it there, Kimberly. Ningekuacha utasema mpaka. But I like that, because you're speaking from the practicality of it. What happens in our daily life? Sindio, sinyi wote mmekuwa wise men. Sindio? Wacha tuende kwa Philemon and then we come to the panelists. Yes, Philemon.
Yes, it seems that Kimberly was reading out my mind.
Oh, amesema point zako.
Because on my side, I'll check on inclusivity. I'll ensure that the one I vote is someone who cares, and will ensure that all the regions are being represented in the government. Another thing that I'll check on is someone who focuses on, prioritizes national development, not regionals. You know, it has been regions, not national. You find somewhere there are roads, somewhere there is no roads. Another thing that I will check on is the scorecard. Almost all of these presidential candidates have held an office somewhere before. So I'll check on what did he do
when he was
during his time. Yeah.
Okay.
Sio kukuja tuna kelele.
Thank you so much, Philom. You've been a student leader, sindio?
Yeah.
You're student leader wapi?
Mary University.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much. Tujiklapia, my guys. I liked those. Yeah. Wengine amtaki hata kujiklapia, but ni sasa. Thank you so much for that round of presentations. Wacha nikuje kwa my panelists. Let them also maybe can respond to what the young people are saying, and how pia tuambie expectation yao ni gani, si ndio? So you're also eager to listen to what they expect and what they are voting for next year. Maybe we can start with you, Mheshimiwa, and then tukuje hivi, si ndio? Yes.
Thank you, Tony. And I think I was sitting at a place that is very conspicuous. My points are all gone. So I'm not sure if I'm going to bring anything new, but I will differ. I mean, I will just make it from my perspective. Number one, for a presidential candidate, I'm looking for somebody in terms of clarity of vision. I would want somebody whose vision is pinpointed to providing solution to this country. And not only should you be having a clear vision, but you should also be capable of communicating that so that the Kenyans can be able to follow what your vision is. You remember, a vision is seeing the invisible. So until unless you communicate your vision to us, we will not know if you have a good vision. And I would also want to see a vision that answers the question how, because everybody like throwing things around of what they will do without telling us how they will do it. And that is where the problem is, how to do. So a presidential candidate or a president should be able to tell us how. Number two, I'm looking for a president who can be able to unify this country. For the last time, we took off as a nation in 1963, but in the process, this nation has become scattered into tribal and regional communities in terms of our share of the national cake and our share of the public positions. We would want to see somebody that is sensitive to every corner of this nation. Not only every corner of this nation, we would also want somebody that is sensitive to the generational equity, so that every generation feels part and parcel of this nation. Number three, I would want see a president that is affirmative in his action, so that the hitherto marginalized communities can be brought to the level where other communities that took off ahead of us are, so that we can move from the same level. And I think that is very, very important in terms of especially economic development. You know, there are regions in this country that have been having huge potentials, but the sessional paper number 10 was slanted, and some regions were painted as having no potential, yet every region has a potential. Last but not least, I want a presidential candidate that is courageous, that is decisive, so that you can make the hard decisions that change and transforms the country. I mean, business as usual will never take this country anywhere. There has to be strength of personality and courage to make the tough decision. Last but not least, I'm looking forward to creativity, so that you bring new solutions to challenges that are facing the country. And I think I've seen that President Ruto ticks all my boxes. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for that. I think what really stood out from the presentation has been the how and also the issue of creativity. I don't know why our Gen Zs wamefurahia sana hiyo part ya creativity. But anyway, wacha tuende kwa wakili Joshua Nyamuri. Please also speak to the young people and also tell us what you're looking for in 2027.
Once again, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm actually happy to get opportunity to sit with young people because I think it is Winston Churchill who said that if you are not an idealist at 20, then you have no you have no heart. And Jaramogi writes in his book Noti to Uhuru that it is the young people who are the conscience of the nation and the vanguard that will lead us towards the next destination. So when I hear the young people speak, I look at myself 20 years ago and I see how much I was a dreamer. Life has probably tempered with some of those dreams. I would want to, first of all, encourage young people to dream and dream more. Yeah. Now, you asked the question, what would look for in a president?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, as you see me growing, I was born in the Kenyatta regime. So I lived through, the year I was born is when J.M. Kariuki was killed in 1975. It was just 6 years after the Kisumu massacre in 1969. And in 1966, there was throwing of Jaramogi out of government, pushing him to resign. And then 1969, KPU was banned and Kenya became de facto one-party state. And therefore, I also lived through the collapse of the economy under Moi. And so when everything collapsed and we were told, maisha mbaya, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Okay. I also lived through the hopes and the dreams that came with the election of President Mwai Kibaki, when we sang Yote Yawezekana bila Moi. And then there was the two gentlemen who sang the Unbogable song. And we were so hopeful as a nation. And then the collapse of that nation, when we made a few billionaires and the wealth of the nation was then concentrated in one region at the expense of the rest of Kenya. And that led us to the conflicts that started with the 2005 referendum and blew up into post-election violence in 2007. And then, so we also witnessed the hopes that, the renewed hope under the Grand Coalition government that enabled us to have the new constitution, and hoping that that would have united the country. But then the crisis that emerged in 2013, and therefore I lived through the stupor of Uhuru Kenyatta, when we had a president who would stand up in public forums and ask you, sasa mnataka nifanye? Okay? Sasa kama 2 billion inaibwa kila siku, mimi nifanye nini? Kwani ni mimi ndio niliiba hiyo pesa? And I mean, Kenya was on autopilot for several years. Then I therefore then witnessed, that was the background, and therefore I witnessed a president who would, stand up and say that we will have affordable housing program. And the entire country was up in arms. And, 4 years down the road, we have 640,000 young people working in affordable housing program. We have units coming up. And so, I was in Kisumu the other day, and, a young man that was just in the streets telling me that he has been paying 1,000, 2,000, and he has paid a total of 100,000, and is waiting to occupy his unit at Lumumba Estate. And that, I met another young man who was my mentee for many years, and told me that he calls me Jacom. He told me, Jacom, today you are not paying bills. I will pay bill because I am a supplier at the affordable housing program. And so he paid my bills, and he actually gave me 20,000 after that. This is a young man that I would give 200, 500 bob. Okay, so I am living through that moment of a visionary leader who would stand with us by the riverside and tell us that we must cross yonder. And you see, it is a storm, and we're wondering whether we can cross through this raging river. So vision is one of the qualities I would require a leader, and I see it President William Ruto. Then integrity, no one stood up and apologized when 111 people were killed at Kisumu in 1969, the Kisumu massacre. No one took responsibility. That no one took responsibility for the death of Tom Mboya, Piogama Pinto, for Tom Mboya, JM Karaoke. No one took responsibility for the Wagala massacre. They remain unresolved, and no one in government has taken responsibility. No one took responsibility for the 1,300 Kenyans who were killed during the post-election violence by Mungiki, who was supported, financed by people within a government system. Money was withdrawn from a bank account to transport Mungiki to Naivasha, to literally slaughter people from one tribe, and then lock a classroom where some were hiding and set them ablaze, and they died. And a woman came home to Kisumu carrying the head of her husband in a gunny bag, and as to date never traced the body of the husband. And no one took responsibility for that, for the police killings all over the country. And you see, no one took the responsibility for the killings in 2017, in 2013, for the corruption in government. So then I see a president who, what happened during the Gen Z definitely was quite unfortunate, but stood up and said something is wrong and we have to correct it. And the first thing we do is that let us be empathetic with the victims, and let us ensure that this thing does not happen again, and let us compensate the victims. Not that it can pay life, not that it can repair the broken families, but it is a recognition that something is wrong.
Yeah.
Then almost done. We see a president who's competent. As I told you, I lived through the stupor of 2013, 2017, when we didn't know what, the president did not know what to do. And here we have a president who can intellectually engage. And then the other thing I could look for in a president is empathy. A president who really understands what the common man, and with that comes courage. I was privileged to sit with President William Ruto in a room where he was engaging architects and engineers as they were designing the designs that would be used for affordable housing. And they were telling him that those houses have to be big, much, a lot of spaces, and when they calculated, there were things that people do not afford. Then he told them, guys, you guys have not lived in slums. I have lived in a slum, and I know the life those people live. So let's fix this to the extent that our people can. And he put his foot down. And today we have the affordable housing houses units coming up all the way around. So I finalize by saying I look for vision, I look for integrity, I look for competence, I look for empathy, and I look for courage. And that I can only find in President William Ruto and no one else. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for that, and thank you also for the historical context and taking us through the few periods and the previous regimes we've had and what has been experienced under those regimes. I think that was important, especially for us as the young people and even the Gen Z. These things normally happen and we study them in history, but we never know mbona zilifanyika hivyo, sindio? So we appreciate that, and it is important that going forward we take into consideration such happenings, sindio, to make those decisions. Let us now come to you, Mheshimiwa Eric Komolo.
Thank you. Normally I get flabbergasted when I'm called Mheshimiwa. I think that's the most abused title in this country. And the next one is doctor. Everyone is a doctor or a Mheshimiwa or something like that. I've listened to most of the people you call Gen Zs, who are mostly my students at the university. And I really appreciate their diversity of opinion. That itself shows that Kenya is in safe hands, that they're able to disagree in a civilized manner and able to advocate for whoever they think is the ideal presidential candidate. What has obviously worried me is that in an ideal society, in a real political society, we should be talking about manifestos of the candidates. So we should be having a system where we know who the candidates will be and what are their real manifestos, because it is assumed that the architecture for state already exists, so that you are not coming to reinvent Kenya, you are coming to take Kenya to the next level, and that can only be through a periodic manifesto. So I'm yet to see from all presumed candidates and imagined candidates, I'm seeing a lot of imagined candidates as well, their real manifesto. I happen to also know quite a number of them fairly closely. And to the extent that I know them, I've not seen a manifesto. So I'm waiting for a manifesto. It is one thing to be my friends, another thing to come up with a manifesto that's convincing. And that manifesto should speak to Kenya's dreams going forward. We have serious unemployment issues. We have serious issues around ethnicization of politics. We have serious governance problems. We have genuine dreams to be a first world. It's a legitimate thing. And you will only be able to take us through those dreams when you have a practical manifesto that can be implemented in phases. I am happy that the president spoke the other day and indicated that on the 12th, they will launch some conversation around the manifesto. I'm waiting for that conversation. I'm also happy that I think they call themselves United Opposition, say that they are talking and that they will, they seem to be talking to identify a candidate, but we expect that talking to also come up with a clear agenda to be implemented. So we'll make a decision based on that. But importantly, the fact that we are struggling about 12 months to elections. Today is August 1st, I think. Yeah, so we are 12 months to the next election. Shows that Kenya is still a state in construction. And those of us who lived through the post-election crisis, the Moi era, and obviously the post-2010 constitution, know why we gave ourselves this constitution. And so whoever comes up with agenda, whatever they want to do, to me it will be very critical that is anchored in the constitution. And nearly everything you have said here is really what we have in Article 10 in the Constitution about national values. So inclusivity is important. Transparency is important. Sustainable development is probably more important because we have a higher population and we need to be able to provide for them. That means we consume reasonably so that they have something to consume in the future. But I think, Tony, that you invited us here in large part because Kenya's politics are significantly dysfunctional. And it's dysfunctional because we are not really in the political system that is practical to our country. That is why you see a lot of informal coalitions. Informal coalitions in the sense that you go to elections emotionally, as for example, one of you has said already as a candidate is going to vote for. You go for elections emotionally, elect somebody probably based on your tribe or based on other convictions, and immediately you realize after election that your candidate is not declared, has not won. And then you run to be in government, whatever you call government. And that means the system we have is not practical to appreciate that no one person can really lead Kenya. You need a system that appreciates that you can negotiate for power and you share that power. And the president or the prime minister is, in this case, the president, is really first amongst equals. So that you not emphasize that presidency alone, you emphasize the coalition building that leads to establishment of a government. That is why all governments, for as long as I've been active in Kenya, from Moi, have ended up having some kind of informal coalition that they ought to have had before election. They realize, immediately you become president, you realize that you can actually not govern alone. So that conversation we need to have, and I'm happy that both sides of the divide, particularly I'm told I've never been president and probably I may never be. I'm told presidency is very lonely. And immediately you are there, you realize the people you think are your friends are not really your friends. They actually want you out, immediately you get in. So I'm happy that it looks like the president realized that, is having conversations, whether it's structured or not, we don't know. We'll wait for the formal publication and the opposition along those lines. But all said and done, Kenya is on a good path, but not living the realities of what it ought to be in terms of building the body politic. And that body politic ought to be through coalition building. Coalition building is not one party. Parties are normally formed along ideology and in Kenya, ethnicity. So if you're building a coalition, you need to be talking about how to bring as many ethnic groups and certainly as many parties as possible in the table to create that semblance of unity that then makes everyone achieve their real potential. Finally, it's not the job of the government to provide for us. It's the job of government to create an environment for us to provide for ourselves. And therefore, a government that is invested in peace and stability so that we realize our real potential, including access to social programs like education, particularly universal education, because I'm a beneficiary of what looked like universal education, is very, very important. So let me stop there, and listen more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Asante sana for that presentation. And then last but not least is Mwalimu. If you can speak to the Gen Zs.
Thank you, Tony. This is a good opportunity for you to also listen to me. I think in this room, I am one of the few people who saw Kenyatta atop a Mercedes-Benz on the sunroof, and I replaced it with Moi. Then I replaced him with Kibaki. Then I replaced him with Uhuru Kenyatta, and I'm now watching William Ruto govern the country. And one thing that you need to know, sometimes the way people behave in leadership depends on the rules and laws of the land at that point in time. There are some things that we have said President Daniel Arap Moi did, but he did them because the constitution he had then allowed him to do that. There are other things Jomo Kenyatta did, but he did them because of the constitution then allowed him to do so. Even some of the greatest angels, when you give them laws that give them all power, you don't expect many good things from them. Nevertheless, this is what I have got to say as far as what we should look for in the president is concerned. Remember also, the president has been given the power by the constitution to sometimes make personal decisions to affect the rest of the country. And that is the only time we need to blame a sitting president for making certain decisions. Majority of the decisions the president makes, the law does not give him a free hand to make them anyhow, anyway, because they are laws of the land. He cannot wake up and say we need to kill so-and-so. He cannot wake up to say we are going to fire the Chief Justice. Such things he cannot do. But politicians make you believe that he is all powerful, that if the judiciary makes a mistake, you blame the president. If the police makes a mistake, you blame the president. No. You remember when you began this show, Tony asked you to name commissions. Those commissions are largely independent. They can make their own decisions on the issues depending on their role. They will not contact the president. They will not consult the president to make them. So, but we have been going through all this, believing that anything that any arm of the government makes as a mistake, we should blame it to the president. That is being ignorant of what the law of the land is about. In Kenya, we have been conditioned to believe what politicians say than what the statute books have. So always fact check. And always when somebody tells you that the president has captured the judiciary, find out if it is really true. Because personally, from where I sit, I have seen people as low as magistrates rule against the government, and they are very happy to walk around day and night without anybody touching them, at least this point. But I remember sometimes during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta went on public and read the Riot Act for the judiciary. One time he went out in public and read the Riot Act for the Auditor General when the Auditor General wanted to look for where the Eurobond went. You all remember, you are not very young. So sometimes do not always believe politicians, because politicians are people who are looking for power. And the greatest tool to acquire power is propaganda. You lie about your political opponents or the opponents of the people you like, and then proceed from there. We need to be very careful what to expect from the president and the presidential candidates. And as you do that, do not take everything said by politicians. They will tell you that what the president doing now is wrong, but in the previous regime it was right. For example, one man called Edwin Sifuna came to tell us that these bright things the president is doing, like building bridges, building stadia, building markets, building hospital, extending roads, extending SGR, are not good. What is good is the rule of law. The rule of law can only be maintained by an independent judiciary and a constitution, which we already have. If you really want the good rule of law, make sure we have good laws and an independent judiciary, which we already have. So if you hear them talk like that, know they are talking simply to change regime. The reason why, when we are fighting for this current constitution, I don't know how old you are, devolution was the most fought after Kipenge in that constitution. Why? Because many regions were complaining that they do not receive development projects. And what does that mean? That it is development projects that mattered most. Today, when somebody has suddenly surfaced in this country who thinks development project matters most to this country, somebody has popped up saying they don't matter. And when somebody tells you that a leader is corrupt, a leader does not obey the rule of law, he knows you have no tool to measure corruption. You have none. If somebody tells you that the president is corrupt, what do you have to prove so? If they tell you that those people who were shot in the streets by policemen were done by the president, you believe it because it's the biggest item you can see in your face. But remember, once a policeman has left the police station with a gun or a rungu or tear gas, he will be acting according to the law of the land and is allowed by law not to follow any illegal orders. So why do you listen to a politician who tells you, oh, the president killed your sons? Did you see the president in the streets? The only time I saw a president sit as the police mauled students in uniform with gunfire was in Kisumu in 1969. It did not happen during Kibaki. It did not happen during Uhuru. But during Jomo Kenyatta 1, he sat gleefully watching as his policemen sprayed bullets on primary school children. So, if we are supposed to make the president accountable for everything that happens in this country, we must also look back and say, have we had a good president? Number two, anybody who comes forward to criticize a presidential candidate, to criticize a president sitting, must also come with clean hands. Look at him and say, Rigiji, you are criticizing the president of the Republic of Kenya. But when you are DO, you are fired for stealing relief food. Rigiji, you are criticizing the president of the relief of Kenya. But when you are DP, you are accused of tribalism, nepotism, division, and you are fired by a whole parliament, not an individual. If you want to believe that he was wrongfully fired, then you must also believe that also the president is being accused wrongfully. Because let's use the same yardstick for all. So lately, the latest to ever attack the person of the president of the day was a man called Stephen Njuguna Nungu, the professor who was the Central Bank of Kenya governor between 2011 and between 2007 and 2015. The first time for the Kenya shilling to ever cross the 100 shilling mark was during Njuguna Nungu. And in 2012, Reuters monitoring the regional regulators found Njuguna Nungu to be the worst central bank of governor in Africa. It was also during Njuguna Nungu as Treasury CS that the Kenya shilling went from 116 to 161. Now this is the man who comes to criticize President William Ruto. It was also Njuguna Nungu, the very first governor of the central bank to ever had a select parliamentary committee formed to investigate his management of the bank. He survived though. He's also the first ever governor of the central bank to ever be given a court warrant. A warrant of arrest. Njuguna Nungu. And this is the first is a man who comes out to criticize. It was during Njuguna Nungu that the Gen Zs went onto the streets for the very first finance bill in 2024. He was the finance minister. So you are blaming Mbadi for this finance bill of 2026, but you didn't blame Njuguna Nungu for finance bill of 2024 when he was the CS. Are we free and fair? This man was the man behind the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It was his blueprint. Njuguna Ndung'u was once accused of gatekeeping for two banks, Dubai Bank and the Imperial Bank. And as soon as he left office as governor, those banks collapsed. There are many things he was ever accused. If you want to find out, you can Google. And this is a man who comes. So what I'm trying to say, if anybody comes to criticize a sitting leader, and he has been a leader before, I heard somebody say there, look at his performance in the office in which he held. You cannot hold an office and perform or not perform at all, then you want to come and criticize others. Then we will interpret it. The criticism is purely to change regime or remove that person from office or have somebody elected into that office. But one other thing I want to tell you, if somebody comes to say Owedi has failed in his office, he must also tell you a person he has evaluated and is better for that office. Because in elective positions, people compete to win that office. It doesn't matter whether they are all bad, one will win it. It doesn't matter whether they are all good, one will win it. So if you're already saying so and so must get out, who is better, who must come in? And what are you going to use to evaluate him? And that brings me to explaining to you what is happening in Kenya today. What is happening in Kenya today is some people have come up together to want a change of regime in their favor. So what do? They know Kenyans vote according to their communities. So they pop up a person in Kisii and tell him, you will be the presidential candidate, we will back you to win. Once the Kisiis have been prompted to hate the sitting president, they drop him. They go to Kambani and they tell him, Mr. Kalonzo, you are going to be our candidate. You are our cousin. Once the Kambas hate the president to an extent of no return, they drop him. And then they go to Western Province and they look for a young man there, an orator, a super critic, an eloquent man with no track record, and tell him you are going to be our presidential candidate and you are the one. And once the lawyers have hated the president to a point of no return, they drop him. One day, when the dog has been given a bad name and given a dark skin, they pop up with the real presidential candidate, a man you don't know, a man you have not evaluated, but you say, Ruto is so bad that even if you give us a cat, we will elect. That is where they are taking you. See it now and get ready for it. And also prepare that in the event that that prophecy of mine comes true, you are going to follow me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Tukulapie panelists wetu, si ndio? Asante sana. Thank you so much, Mwalimu, for that. And you said that, wacha niseme hiyo. And to the young people, the Gen Zs, as we normally say that on this platform, you don't really have to agree with what the panelists are saying. You're allowed to actually challenge. And when where you don't understand, you can also seek clarifications, ndio. And I've equally seen many of you taking notes up. So I believe probably mkona maswali. Some of you also want to respond, ndio. That is what we normally do here. Unfiltered conversations. And then we also allow you to, I normally say this is the best example of what we call an intergenerational dialogue, sindio? So you give your side of the story, they give their side, alafu tunakubaliana, sindio? And then one of the greatest signs of intelligence for me has always been open-mindedness. Ukisikia mtu anasema kitu ambayo ina make sense, unakubali and you interact with it, and that is how we move forward, sindio? But there are some of you, I'm very sure tungekuwa na hii conversation pale nje, tungekuwa tushapigana, because you are not willing to engage with my side of the story. Unataka tu side yako peke yake, si ndio? So anyway, let us appreciate ourselves for having this the political tolerance we are seeing in this space. Mtu akisema kitu ambayo you disagree with, pia unakubali, unasikia na maliza, and then you communicate, si ndio? Let us take another round of questions and responses from that other side, alafu watajibu pia, and then we can call it a day, si ndio? Sijui nianze nawe pale, and I want you to tell me nani. Let us get now into the discussion. We have a few presidential candidates who've already come out and who have presented themselves for elections. Ndio. Tuko na the likes of Akina David Maraga, Kina Edwin Sifuna, President William Ruto. We have Otokia. Si wako ama mwajui jamani. You know them. So that is where I want us now to go into. And I want us, because for the benefit of our viewers, pia lazima we criticize na pia tupatiane pat on the back where we feel kuna points, ndio. We'll start with you, especially from your angle where you see it. Unaonaje venye vitu zinaendelea hivi? What is this one thing? What is this one mistake that Kenyans must not make again in 2027?
First, I want to start by agreeing and on what my fellow colleagues have said. First, they have said that they are going to elect a president based on ideology, based on inclusivity, based on the vision that they carry for the country, and based on the rule of law. First of all, I'm a staunch supporter of President William Ruto, and I will elect President William Ruto come 2027. And these are the reasons that I will elect the president. First of all, on ideology, the president came up with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the better plan. That was this ideology back in 2022 when he was campaigning for the presidency. And the better plan had 5 pillars. First of the pillar was the agriculture. The second one was universal healthcare, housing, MSME, economy, and digital superhighway. Of all those 5 pillars, the president has done very much to ensure that he achieves the target that he gave to the people of Kenya the moment he was campaigning. Again, on the vision, the president has had a vision for this country. First of all, he ensured the continuity of the Vision 2030 that came about during Kibaki regime, where the succeeding regime, the Uhuru Kenyatta regime, borrowed the Big Four agenda from, and the President Ruto better plan was also borrowed from the tenets of the 2030 Vision 2030. Apart from that Vision 2030, the president again has a vision that is from the vision that he says from third world to first world status. That is, the president came up with bodies such as the National Infrastructure Fund and the Sovereign Wealth Fund that are going to propel our country towards the first world status. Again, the president has also had the Singapore plan, where he said that he's going to take Kenyans to Singapore. It is a concrete plan for us to move our country's infrastructure from where it is right now to the first world status, the same way Singapore did some years back. Again, on inclusivity, I want to say that the president has done a lot on inclusivity. Since the president in 2023, he gave citizenship status to the Pemba community that lives in the coastal region that has been neglected for over 100 years, since 1930 up to now. These are facts. I'm speaking facts. You can even Google. So the president gave citizenship status to the Pemba people, the people who live in the coast. That is one of the things that he's done on inclusivity. Again, we have seen that the president has done government appointments from all over the country. He has ensured that every community, every tribe is represented in his government, even the people who did not vote for him. I come from the Ukambani region, and the Ukambani region did not produce as much vote as we can say to make President Ruto win in 2022. But again, he has given us CS slot, he has given us PS slots, and we have had other people work in this government. And again, he has also ensured that we receive development as other regions that voted for the president have received development, such as the region in Mount Kenya. People in Mount Kenya have received development the same way the way people in Ukambani have been receiving development from President William Ruto. No, don't stop me. Allow me to finish. The president promised to deliver affordable housing to the people. He has delivered affordable housing across each and every town that you go, from the areas that he was voted in to areas that he was not voted in. That is part of inclusivity that we are talking about. Again, on inclusivity, he pulled the many barriers that were there for the people from the northeastern Kenya to acquire IDs. And they are now acquiring IDs as any other Kenyan would acquire a national ID. Okay. That is part of the inclusivity. Again, I wanted to talk about the rule of law. On the rule of law, the president gave autonomy to the police when he got power. And again, the president has ensured that the judiciary work independently, such that there is minimal interference from the executive. And that has been something to comment about. I'll vote for President William Ruto in 2027. He is my candidate. Thank you.
Adu kuna makwenya bro, but Nisa, I like the mastery. And Kiri, I saw you smiling when he was presented. I don't know whether you were. I was so interested. Okay.
Can I select that?
Okay.
Tony, you had asked a question on What Kenyans should be careful about when you're going to vote in the next coming elections 2027. So I think as Kenyans, we should not vote based on our emotions because right now some of the people are for the idea that Ruto must go. When you ask them who are you voting for, they say they don't care, but Ruto must go. So when they're going to vote, they're going with a mental they're just going there with their emotions. They don't have the idea. They don't have the manifestos of these people they are going to vote for. So for them, they are just saying Ruto must go. And another thing, we have so many presidential candidates coming out. Can you just give us because you have David Maraga, you have people are saying Sifuna, another person saying Kalonzo, and just as Mwalimu has said, you should evaluate these people because my dear friend here said he is voting for Kalonzo, but honestly, Kalonzo has been in office since ages. But what has he done? What has he done for the people in Ukambani? That is what you need to look for when you're going out there to vote, because you can't say you're going. Sorry, but what are you going to vote for? He has been there. He has been there in office, but what has he done for the people in Ukambani? What can they say that he has done for them? They're just Kalonzo is just there to oppose the government. Anytime there's a new government, he's not the president. His work there is just to oppose the government. Instead of doing the actual work, he's just there to oppose the government, say the wrong things that the government has done. He hasn't actually done anything of significance there. So when you're going to vote, look at these candidates. What have they actually been doing? Like Kalonzo, what has he actually
But
done?
he's going to bring change.
No, what change why hasn't he brought that change? Yeah, all those years he has been in the government, why hasn't he brought that change? Will he now bring that change after being elected as the president? The small things that you do, they show us what you will actually do. And I think that's the reason why he hasn't won so far, because Kenyans haven't seen anything that he can.
But I'll allow you to respond. Respond.
Let me give him time so that he can also
Oh,
think,
yeah.
but I'll just go first. Mine is to echo what Mwalimu has said. Because he's really talked about the difference between the noises and action. For me, I see a lot of noisemakers, a lot of activists who want to govern, because we need to know the difference between governing, our governance, and politics. Mwalimu has said it very rightly, that you see, we have people who are running the propaganda because they understand that for you to get to people to vote for you, you have to have a narrative, and they're very good at it. But you see, beyond that noise, beyond those one-time noise, what are these people really bringing to us? Because we all assume that we are about to live in an ideal country. We all want the best for this country, but then we do not appreciate where we've come from. Mwalimu has rightly said that, you see, we had, and the other panelists have rightly said that we had other governors or other governments or presidents who could watch while people were being killed, who could do little action, as little as an apology, a public apology. They will not have done it. But you see, the president is doing it. And the president, for them, maybe they how do you call this? They call the respect for the constitution in a different light. But you see, a man who owns up for the mistakes that have been done in his government is a man to watch, a man to respect, and a man to love. So when we are living in this regime of President William Ruto, we have to appreciate the little things that have done, because we were not seeing them in the previous regimes. We need to appreciate that. Another thing is, I'm a development advocate. I like development because I have lived in a county or a region that has been undermined, and I want to be that voice of change to the coast region. And that's the reason why I have Vuguvugu la Vijana na Maendeleo Pwani. And I visit these counties. Like recently I was with the Taita Taveta governor, and he's doing a lot in terms of development, bringing industries in his counties. But for the others, they simply do nothing and then they blame it on the president. I don't know if I can quote it, but we have had a governor who will say, you just publish something, I'll blame the president. Because you see, everyone wants to blame the president, even in their own mistakes, because they believe that they have a scapegoat, which is the president. And this is a time for us young people and as the country at large, we need to look at the good leadership. Sometimes we assume that Kenya will never have a good leader. But you see, we need to appreciate that we have come from worse leadership and now we are about to good leadership. So we have to maintain that standard. That today, if we cannot tolerate some kind of injustices, we do not want to go back. So this, when we want or the young people are calling for good leadership, it's not just at State House alone. It's not just at the the national level alone.
But you people are just attacking Kalonzo and you are leaving all these other people.
You see, for Kalonzo, you see, a track record is a very good record. You see, for Kalonzo, he had a chance to lead this country. In fact, the way he got that vice presidency, it was a questioning way, because we thought that he will be in the opposition. In the middle of the night, he went to the other side. So first, his integrity as a man, we have to question it. And then when it came to, you lobbying for development, sometimes we do not understand the word lobbying. Just influence this development to come to your region. He cannot influence the president back then to bring development, while we had areas in the Kibaki regime which had development. What was he doing in that State House?
Thank you so much, Hassan. Let me bring in Duke. Duke, you've received a lot of strays. Maybe you can respond and also to Ambie.
Tony, I agree. I think I deserve time to respond to every
course,
person in this panel. And it's good we have brought the conversation about the man of the moment, the emperor, the conqueror, the king, the champion, His Excellency, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. The man we have seen the government trying to sell propaganda about himself, that at some point he has joined them, so that the people, and today we know the better part of the country, almost 80% of the population is aligning to him, so that people can lose trust on him. There is one thing that I always say, Tony, the time His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was the vice president of this country, there was how now the system those days was operating. The vice president, it's a person who the president could wake up one day and say, I fired him, because to some point he was under the president. And again, Kibaki was a bit edge, and I always try to give the credit of every development that we got between the period of 2007 and 2013 to His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Because of Kibaki was a bit edge, and some of things he could not do. And the framing of what happened then was mostly done by Kalonzo Musyoka. So I give him a lot of credit on the same. And let me say this, Tony, because we should not even dwell much on the past. We are looking at the vision going forward. What is the capability? What is the capability of His Excellency going to do? And
let us not dwell.
So I have been under the campaign trail of His Excellency, and some people here can confirm at several points I have been part of the people who have drafted memorandums on young people, and we have presented. I can probably say we are presented to be included in his manifesto, and much is within the manifesto to be done for the young people.
Okay. And
then let me say, we have a president today in office who at some point he has even gone to an extent of budgeting for corruption. It is the other day that Junet Mohammed confirmed that they were paid to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. Giving an example from where I come from, Kitui County, I am very bitter because there is a team that has been formed to campaign for William Ruto. Okay. But they are not giving what we saw being given at all. They are denying our people. They are denying our people gases, their mattresses.
So and demand your fair share
so
of corruption.
We demand a fair share of, because the corruption is budgeted, but they are even getting corrupt on what is budgeted for corruption over there. So it's my prayer. I don't know. I will not mention them, but it's my prayer that the people of this country will awaken,
Okay.
and we rally behind the united opposition, where I believe His Excellency will be the flag bearer. And with that team united, Tony,
Yes.
I have told you before, we will have 80% win, and William Ruto will get less than 20%. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Let's see what Kerry has to say. Alafu tutaenda huko nyuma.
Keyword less. Thank you very thank you very much. And I'm listening to a lot of conversations, and I literally held my chest when he mentioned something to do with citizenship. And I think it's because we've been so much acquainted to bare minimums that we fail to realize citizenship is in fact a right under Chapter 3 of the Constitution. That is one. And it's also true that the government of the day is very generous with citizenship, that we even have, the RSF leaders from Sudan acquiring diplomatic passports. It's not, diplomatic passports are not even issued by the UN. You have to be a top-ranking government official in your country. And even then, the government has discretion to either issue you with a diplomatic passport or not. So I think it's important that we are careful that this discussion does not slide into sophistry. Sophistry is, we know the truth, but we are painting it, doing cosmetics, and it's coming up, things that are true are coming out to be lies. I think two truths can coexist, but we also need to be objective in terms of how we really put across our solid points. The other thing really, it is also idealistic, and I think we need to mention that the president is not it's true, there are a lot of nuances, not nonsense, nuances. There are a lot of nuances in the sense of the president does not function alone or in a vacuum. But at the bare least, it is not a coincidence that when the government of the day entered office, it's only cases that of allies of the government that were being withdrawn. So it's a coincidence. That's one thing you'd have to convince me. The other thing, we saw the bodyguard for the Deputy Chief Justice shot around a time the Supreme Court needed to make a judgment about elections. We've also seen, judges making rulings against government on affordable housing and government policies and having their security withdrawn. So it is pure sophistry. You cannot convince me that it's coincidence. It's happening. The president does not have obligation. As a matter of fact, under Article 131 of the Constitution, the president is the chairperson of the National Security Committee. The president is also the commander-in-chief of the defense forces. And on top of that, he has obligation under law to protect this constitution. If he does not understand how, do the honorable thing. You shape up or you shape out. And I've also been seeing something on social media where they were saying, if you can, why can't you fund yourself a job abroad? Let someone who is competent to just do the job. So we cannot run away from responsibility. And it's even for you who are seeking elective position. If you feel you have a problem with taking criticism, do the honorable thing. We have 53 million Kenyans, and this way I'm not buying the argument of I can enter this house and I see this coat of paint is stained. As a matter of fact, it's a fact. In fact, Kenyans know what they want. That is why they are saying the current leadership of the country, both at national and devolved level, is not idealistic. That means they know what they want. So the other question of who do we replace with? We have 53 million Kenyans. There are a lot of people who, when it reaches them, there are people who may be bad by their IBC or anything, but until it reaches the ballot day, there are out of 53 million Kenyans, it cannot be one person who is a know-it-all, that we cannot replace him with anyone else. So it is sophistry. I rest.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I think that was really profound, and I'm happy that you're mentioning that we have 53 million Kenyans, but not all of the 53 million Kenyans have offered themselves for elections, meaning we only have to discuss the 9 or so who have already presented themselves for elections. That is why we are having this conversation. Out of those 9 that have so far presented themselves, that is why I say I open the floor now to let us also criticize and also probably give proposals. That is for the benefit of our viewers, because part of what we do at REDRING is to try and inform and also to educate. So who is this one candidate that I think for you would or embodies whatever you're trying to then talk about, the respect to the rule of law and all other factors you're talking about?
I think, Tony, and I've said respect to the rule of law is really one element I would largely consider when electing a presidential candidate. And until then, when we are not yet into the official campaign season, and I hope you know that. So until then, when we are able to interrogate, including concrete economic policies, I cannot just elect you because you tell me you'll pledge to respect the rule of law. So until then, when we are able to interrogate your policies, where are you going to get money to fund government projects? Right now, we are talking about affordable housing, and a lot of government projects, which is okay, but at what cost? Kenya is literally ballooning into exceeding its debt ceiling. We are borrowing at an all-time high. So until then, when we are able to see the manifestos post the campaign period, we can be able to make decisions. But as a matter of fact, there are people, and so many of them, who are competent to fill positions in this country across all levels, from MCA to the president. Yeah.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thank you so much. Maybe we can now move to Tuende pale nyuma. We were yes, pale nyuma mtuambie what you people think hapo at the back. What is asi ana contribute jamani. Yes. What is this one mistake Kenya should not make at the ballot? Alafu pia hiyo question ya all these other presidential candidates. Mtuambie guys, nini mnafikiria about these candidates? Kuna wengine wenye pia there are presidential candidates who have actually served in the previous regime, si ndio? Si kuna wenye offer themselves for elections. Why are we not talking about them? Ama nataka tuongelee kina nani jamani? So tuanzie hapo, alafu nitakuja ni pick responses these other side pia.
I guess I'll just speak on what she has said. People are very emotional, and it almost looks like, people are being pushed by emotions. And so, you just remember even, for instance, if I was to give an example, in 2013, I remember, Kenyans voting for Uhuru Ruto because they wanted to teach the ICC a lesson, yeah? So they went, we want to teach ICC a lesson. So, how about, we just vote, for our two criminals, yeah? And I remember there was even the Kumira, the Kumira calling and whatnot, yeah? Then again came 2017, it was just still the same thing, yeah? 2022, it was, let us punish, Uhuru Kenyatta for supporting, let us punish Uhuru Kenyatta for supporting Raila Odinga and whatnot, yeah? So, and it almost looks like, even when you speak to very many young people, it's very emotional. Like, what do you mean you're telling me that you'd rather vote for a dog? What exactly is wrong with you, yeah? That, that literally, you are so blinded by so much hatred, yeah? And I know politics is very personal. I think politics ought to be personal, but, you cannot reduce it to, to emotions and such things, because very many times, when we vote in based on emotions, we just end up making the very same mistakes that we keep on making as a people, and it's almost something that is seen across board and whatnot, yeah? And so that is why, for me, even as I look at, because people have presented themselves, and I think since I've voted since 2013, and I mean, even before 2013, I could see our parents voting and whatnot. Sometimes, you literally listen to some of the politicians and you just tell yourself, I know how this will end. You can almost already tell how this will eventually end and whatnot, yeah? So, if elections were to happen today and I'm going on the ballot, I would still vote, for William Ruto, yeah? So, because, I'm listening to everyone, and it's almost like literally the reason why very many of them are opposing Ruto, it's because they would want to be, they themselves want power. It's just power that they want, yeah? Absolutely not. Yeah, it's just a fight for power. So, as of now, if I'm to go on the ballot, I would vote for William Ruto.
Yes. Still on you, there's also, you've alluded to this thing of trying to vote somebody in or vote somebody out to punish someone. And so in 2027, do we still foresee a scenario of certain people also trying to vote?
Of course. I mean, that's the rhetoric right now. When I see Rigathi Gachagua, speak up and say that, literally, we must punish William Ruto. What do you mean? You are literally telling your community to vote a certain way to punish somebody else. You understand? And it's very, very unfortunate. Every time I listen to Rigathi Gachagua, I think I get sick. I get a really, really bad headache. Really, really bad headache, because I keep on asking myself, you cannot be standing on top of a vehicle and, and all you tell Kenyans is, not just Kenyans, because for him, he has said his politics is not outside Mount Kenya. For him, his politics is just in Mount Kenya. Yeah. And you're almost, you're creating a demon, in your own community. You're a demon, and so you are also trying to create a demon in your own community and whatnot. So for me, the hula baloo, around, Edwin Sifuna or Kalonzo Musyoka or what, for me, I just keep on saying that is a lot of nonsense. Yeah, these are people, because remember when Raila was still alive, Raila, did the handshake, and Edwin Sifuna, never stood up, to tell Raila Odinga. No, in fact, if anything, he was standing right next to Raila Odinga when Raila, and William Ruto was signing, that, so where was he before, when Raila was still alive? Why couldn't he stand up and say that I cannot, I'm not going to support this person? So, we just expect to still see Kenyans vote on, based on emotions, which is very, very unfortunate and whatnot. And I remember, Edwin Sifuna the other day talk about how I come from Luya land, yeah. I'm from Vihiga County, and he said that, that a Luya cannot live, you cannot expect a Luya to have his chicken on 12th, and even when you look at this affordable housing thing, and for him, he was trying to discourage Luyas, from buying the affordable housing agenda. But then I sat down and I told myself, when I look at even how these houses are being distributed, I'm seeing so very, very many, of our, our fellow Kenyans from Central Kenya buying these houses, yeah. So you are discouraging us, from acquiring these houses when there is a certain group that is actually buying them. Then eventually they'll rent them to us. So why shouldn't we also buy these particular houses as people from Western Kenya? So, I mean, and affordable housing are there, try and solve the slum issue. So, when you tell people that don't buy the affordable housing thing, I mean, I have my own reservations regarding how affordable housing has been, how we are financing it and whatnot. But I believe that the affordable housing project is a very good thing, yeah? It's an extremely good thing and whatnot. Maybe, the government just needs to look at, the model in which, it's building these houses in terms of, people feeling like, you're reading our pay slips, and making us, pay for houses that we'll never own, yet, we are paying mortgages out there, ready for houses that we own. For me, I would say, like that particular model is what the government needs to look at. But affordable housing is a very, very good thing. Yes.
To clock. Yeah, asante sana for your presentation yako. Maybe tuende wako around finally. I'm going to pick a few more responses wako alafu nikuje huku. But in case you're watching us for the first time, please do make sure to subscribe, like, and also comment. Tuma maswali tuulize hapa. Tuko na Mwalimu Dawidi, we have got Eric Komolo and Wakili Joshua Nyamuri together with Mheshimiwa and 8 Gen Zs over 10 Gen Zs over here ambao pia. If you have a question to any of them, please feel free tuma swali and we'll answer it. So thank you so much for staying with us. Twende kwako Aaron, your overall comments alafu tutakuja huku.
Maybe
who are you punishing in 2027?
I want just to say first, the worst people that Kenya should think of electing is people like Matiang'i, Kalonzo, Sifuna, and Maraga. Should I just go on? Those are the worst people that Kenya should think electing. And the worst is Gachagua and Malala. Those are now outcast. They have got no plan for this country. Why am I saying so? Somebody like Kalonzo is outdated. Kalonzo is never future-oriented. Kalonzo has been there for the last 45 years. Kalonzo is one man, he's like a porcupine. Yeah. Once his Nini is over, he will automatically run away. And just a few minutes ago, you were talking about strong leadership. Do you think Kalonzo will lead us even to any meaningful fight? Like the way the Iran were fighting against the other countries. Let's assume we face such things in the near future. Kalonzo can he really lead us? He will automatically hide. Kalonzo has got no economic idea for this country. The only agenda that Kalonzo always sings about is one term. After one term, what else? What next? Somebody like Matiang'i. Matiang'i is a tribal leader. Matiang'i cannot be heard beyond Kisii. Even Kisii alone, nobody can listen to Matiang'i. Because even Kisii, when you look at Kisii, Simbarati is even strong more than Matiang'i in Kisii. Matiang'i is one man that cannot control his emotional intelligence. You can remember the time he was the CS for Interior.
Yeah.
That is the time that most of the Gen Zs that we have today were being picked at Rivayala, were being picked at by the roads, were being picked at inside the dams across the country. So such a person, if we risk electing, my friend, the Gen Zs will go.
But we also have Mtata and Maraga.
Oh, Mtata is a joker. Somebody like Maraga. Maraga, the only thing that is cheating Maraga that he can be president just because he ruled out the presidential election. That one shouldn't make you a hero. That one shouldn't qualify you to be the president of this Republic of Kenya. For someone to be a president of the Republic of Kenya, we need somebody who is future-oriented, somebody who is economically well, somebody who has got strong leadership skills, someone who can have what we call the Solomonic wisdom to run this country. When I talk about Gachagua, you know Gachagua even before being the deputy president of this republic. In fact, sometimes I even wonder, why did Ruto pick Gachagua as his deputy? We could have started with Kindiki. We could have been somewhere now. This is someone who has got a negative track record. Since then, he was a DO. I heard one of us said Gachagua started even selling maize since before. If you can sell a maize, how do we trust you with billions of shillings of this country? So Gachagua can never be close to any presidential seat. If you look at Malala is a joker. Malala is one person, when was given a money for campaign, he went ahead and built his own house. Now he want to tell us, he can tell us whom to elect to be president. So such people, let us not risk. Gachagua cannot think beyond Mount Kenya. And Kenya, you are going to, actually, I think we have got more than 42 tribes within the Republic of Kenya. How are you going to lead Kenya when you only think about one tribe? Even now, if you look at the page of Gachagua, utaona pale ameandika mara today he received his in-laws, mara which kind of a leader is that? And they came to check on his wife. What is that?
Even today, the former deputy president, the impeached deputy president, said that even if he decides to shelve his ambitions, Mount Kenya must get its fair share.
You see such mentality. You can't lead a country with such mentality. You heard the other day he was telling, was it Irungu Kangata, that should not step in Nyandarua. Which kind of a statement is that for someone who has held a national office to a stage of being a deputy president? So at some point of time, I always say thank you to Mr. President William Samoei Ruto for acting so fast to replace Gachagua. Why am I going to re-elect Honorable President William Samoei Ruto? Number one, if you look at the bottom-up economic agenda, honestly speaking, William Samoei Ruto has really tried for this country when it comes to economic sector. When you check at the shillings of Kenya, it is now stable. We are building over 300 plus modern markets across Kenya. We are developing our roads across Kenya, the tarmac roads. Those are one of the things that help us in the economic sector. Because when we have got good roads, we automatically we will reach the market earlier. That is a layman's understanding. When you look at the sector of security, we are well. Each and every sector, we are well. So William Samoei Ruto is one president that is future oriented. And during this time that we have got President William Ruto is where we have got a Kenya where everybody is somebody. This is the time. Can you tell me which president has ever allowed even the Juakali industries to step in State House? The low class. Long before we used to know that the State House is only for the cabinet secretaries, the government officials, the senior most, and maybe the global leaders. But by this time around, I'm telling you, if you will book an appointment to the State House, my friend, you will go tomorrow.
I'll book.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Aaron.
In this regime, kidogo tu nimalize, in this regime, it is a regime where everybody is somebody. And I want to urge my fellow Kenyans that this is the president that Kenya will never add. It is only, maybe after William Ruto, it may be me. Yeah, thank you. So I was just saying, as also a deputy broad-based government director in Nyanza region, we are going to re-elect President William Samoei Ruto for his second term. Thank you.
I now understand why you're the director. That's good.
Okay, for me, I am one person who champions more for youth empowerment. And this we have seen that President Ruto has done his best because he has had initiatives, things like Nyota Fund, Hustler Fund, and also the affordable housing. We see that he's not only concentrating on the literate people, but giving each young person a chance to come up with something and the government is financing them. So for me, I believe that President Ruto is a leader that we may want to have again because of youth empowerment. I may also champion for more youth representation in terms of having youth representatives in government and also them being elected for MPs, governors, and all that. So yeah, I feel President Ruto has done a good job.
Okay. What is this one place, Quinta, where you think that maybe needs a bit of improvement? Because obviously not everything has been going maybe as we had expected. Maybe kuna mahali una feel kwamba something needs to be done.
For me, what I can pinpoint is youth representation, because we find that the faces we have been seeing are still the faces that are still in offices. So for me, I would say let's have more people on board, especially the young people, because they're coming in with new ideas, new suggestions. I would also like to commend Cabinet Secretary John Buddy, because he's opened up the ministry, having young people, young student leaders on board to talk on matters budget. So I feel when we have young people on board, then these are new ideas coming on board, rather than having the same people who have been in office.
Okay, thank you so much. Over to you, Kimberly. If you had 1 minute with any of those presidential candidates, ungewauliza nini?
First of all, allow me comment on.
You are allowed.
Thank you so much. Let me comment on the panelists. They've done a good job. I think they've shed some light. I feel like if the younger people will get a chance to sit down with them at large, they will shape their perspectives, like they will change their perception about these politicians. They will understand that no other person is more Kenyan than the other one. We are all Kenyans, and politicians play a game of interest. If it doesn't suit them, then it's not for them. That is why when you're asking on the question 2027, if we're going to have to punish somebody, there is already an ideology that is coming up. When you see Rigathi Gachagua is already tribal, people are going to say 2027, let us vote so that we can punish the Kikuyus, you see. Or rather still, they're going to come up with the idea, let us vote to punish William Ruto. Now, we're not voting against ideologies, but we are voting against emotions, just like they said. And then another thing I would also want us to understand, when choosing these leaders, just like they said, let us choose leaders who are, they have empathy, courage, ideas, intelligence, and all that. Because one thing I've come to understand, these politicians, when something doesn't favor them, it is not good for them. Look at the case of Aisha Juma. Aisha Juma was in UDA, and just because she's not received a bigger cake portion, she's now withdrawing and trying to paint Ruto as a bad person. But all that while, she was within the political party, she has served under that, and it has also given her merits that come with joining political parties. Someone like also Sifuna, I'm not against him, but when we are looking at a youthful leadership, we should also agree that our youth require mentorship. Yes, it's not that because someone is loud qualifies them to be a leader. So another thing I would want to point from that, there are these people we've seen, they work close with the president, but when it comes to election time, that is when they want to say how bad the president is. Why won't you just resign in the first place and say, I don't want to work with this regime because this regime is rogue, this regime does not listen to young people? Why is it during the election time that you want to now withdraw and now see this government that you've been serving for the past 4 years has been bad, has not been listening to its people, has not delivered its manifesto, yet while you're sitting down to draft part of this manifesto, you sit as a team, you sit as a political party. So I would beg the young people, let us not be swayed, let us not be manipulated by these politicians. When we are voting, let us not vote also based on the tribal lines. Let us vote somebody who we feel this person resonates with us. This person is bringing creativity on matters, problem solution. And another thing I also want to point out, when we talk about the affordable housing, it was not built for people who have homes. It has been built for various purposes. One which the president said was curbing the slums, and another one, especially the one in Funyula, it has been built there to curb the flood issues. So let us not ride into what politicians tell us on matters chicken. Honestly, it's something that even if you sit down and check what these politicians are trying to drive, some of them don't make sense at all. Yes. So another thing that you've also asked me, if I got a chance to talk to them, I'll talk to them and tell them, let us not manipulate the younger generation. Let us look into the bigger future. You cannot harvest a cake, and then when it is not enough for you, just like our experts here said, that is when this cake is not good at all. Let also these young people have their own vision, bring them, sit with them, because I think for me, as a first-time voter, Baba would have been my preferred candidate. Because however much politics is tribal, I will say for him, he played his politics way much different. At some point, I've been to these ODM functions, and you would wonder, how did Baba come all this way to maybe the northern part and find somebody like Senator Lematian? How did Baba find somebody like this youth president? Baba had his way of playing politics. When he was donating his experts, there are things he will look at. He also championed for devolution, you see. And these are things that I see in President William Ruto. When you look at the conclave that Baba was championing for before his demise, the president is now bringing it back and saying that on 12th August, he wants to meet the young people and he wants to see what is their vision, what do they have to contribute to the economy of Kenya. So that is why I would re-elect him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Before you go to film, you can tell us, now that the president has given an opportunity for the young people, what do you tell the young people? Because the opportunity ndio imefika on the 12th of August.
I think what I would tell the young people is, let us now organize around it. Let us strategize. Let us come with all these ideas that we were having. Let it not be a thing of 1 term or 2 term. Let us sit down, come up with ideologies, draft something that is long lasting, and see what is it that is in there for us as young people. Let us not be driven by politicians. Tuende pale, tuanze kufight. Let us not also look at, there is one thing they call the parquet. People want to go there and have money. Of course, maybe you can be reimbursed your transport, and then what then? We young people, it's high time we need to get mentorship on how to package ourselves within our strengths, so that when you're presenting something, let it be a long-lasting solution that somebody doesn't just engage you today and it doesn't go beyond that. Yes, so packaging is equally important. Yeah, okay, it should not be the sole purpose that we are going there, because one thing I also said, politics is who gets what, where and when. Maybe that is your only chance to receive something from the president. You see, when campaigns are rolled out, there are these grassroots mobilizers, maybe who never get this year's positions, they're never rewarded on their merits. Now that will be the first time maybe you're getting something on your reward. Maybe you sweat kwa grao and nobody noticed.
That is true.
Yes, that is the time to reward yourself. So I'm not saying that should be the sole purpose, but you should also not decline.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Money is not everything, eh?
Yes.
It's the only thing. Yes.
Okay. Okay. For me personally, I'll give Ruta 2 term. The reasons why I'll give him a 2 term has been explained. So probably I'll explain why I'll not vote for the united opposition. Personally, when I check the realignment of the united opposition, you find most of them are very hypocrite. Somebody like Gachagua, he discourages all the members of the Mount Kenya not to be part of the government, while in real sense for him, he fought for his position up to the last minute. He even faked sickness. After faking sickness, he went to court. After going to court and failing, he still thinks of appealing. So telling me that Mount Kenya should not support Ruto, that's a pure lie, because for him, he wants to be part of it. Another thing, when you check, you'll realize that for me, I don't think if he has the interest of the people, he has his own interest. That's why he wants to make the Mount Kenya people believe that the only party that should rule Mount Kenya is DCP. If you are keen, he's not checking on whether he's not checking on your ability to lead. He's checking on on the party you are coming with. Even if you come with Jubilee, you come with any other party apart from DCP, he'll always fight you. So for me, I'll support two-term.
Okay. Thank you. So I don't know whether I'm leaving any response from this end so that we come to you have something, eh? Sawa, tuanze na wewe alafu tumalize na Andrew, then tuvuke huko. Wewe pia unataka sawa. Okay.
Here. Okay, Tony, let me say that we don't have to press an off button for some few communities because we say they have been receiving development all along, all because they are not for the government that we have in place today. Every now and then, tukisikia watu wanaongea mambo na development, we have heard several times people saying, oh, the cabinet secretaries coming from Mount Kenya region, they should be sacked because they are not supporting the government. And most of developments nowadays, they are not going to those regions because if that is the tendency now, it will be a repeated occasion. Ikue, by any chance, tukue na president mwingine na behave the same way we are seeing this government behaving today, then what picture will we be painting for this country? So I've seen the government today is more of promoting what is called tribalism. Wenye tunashinda tunasema tribalism every now and then. We'll not also say that Gachagua, because alitoka kwa ofisi, he will not defend the community where he comes from. But I'm a proud camper.
Okay.
And you will not tell me at some point, if I talk about my community, I'm a camper. And we have seen ODM every now and then saying, because they come from Nyanza, they must be in the government. Wapate position as deputy president. They are saying no, it's my time, please. I agree. Today people are saying today you'll hear my friend here saying he's the director coordinator from Nyanza or broad-based, and he's very happy because Nyanza is getting a lot of development, and he is okay when Ukambani is not getting development. Anasema he's not happy. We are not getting development. It's my time because Mount Kenya is not because Mount Kenya is not getting development and they are getting development. He's saying the president is good, and that is the tendency we should run away from.
Point home.
Yeah, totally.
So let us
before and I'm just saying that's why we are saying that Kalonzo needs to come to the government so that you can also enjoy these benefits, because you see the panelists have rightly said that you cannot run this country alone. You have to make sure that you have coalitions, whether formal or informal. So that's the reason why kina Kawaya, Wanatafutwa and the others. But you see, when Kalonzo comes on board, it is easier for that. In fact, Kalonzo is a good leader, but he does not have a vision. Together with William Ruto, with the goodness of Kalonzo and the vision of William Ruto, the Ukambani region will transform. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Valerie.
Okay, if I'm not wrong, my brother has said that the government is advocating for tribalism, right? But what proof do you have? Because you see, it's the opposition doing the opposite. Because it's Gachagua who's actually advocating for that tribalism, saying that if you support Ruto, you're not allowed there. So, and we can see Murkomen is condemning that. So how is the government actually advocating for that? And another thing that I realized, we are requesting for inclusivity. Why are we requesting for inclusivity? Why are we requesting our presidential candidates to include us? Mm-hmm. Because it's not a personal favor that they're doing. It's their duty. Inclusivity, it should be there. It's not supposed to be a request, oh, you should include Mount Kenya, the Kambani region. We should not request it. I think as Kenyans, we have we have gotten used to like the bare minimum. So now we have to request for inclusivity from these leaders of ours. We should actually demand for it because it's our right to be included. When the president is being sworn into office, like when he's taking the oath, like he promises that he will include all the Kenyans. So why are we requesting? We should actually demand for it from these leaders of ours.
Okay.
No more requesting. We demand for what is ours.
All right. Finally.
I think I have a minute from her. She donated a minute for me, so you don't have to cut me short when I talk too much. First of all, I need to tell Duke that the government has not redirected development elsewhere apart from Mount Kenya region. The government is doing a lot in Mount Kenya region. We have the Kenol Sagana Maua interchange. It is in Mount Kenya. It has been done by the government. We have the President Ruto also initiated the coffee bonus and tea bonus. Mount Kenya is the biggest beneficiary of coffee bonus and tea bonus. They are the biggest. They own the large number of farmers who plant coffee and tea. They are in Mount Kenya and they are biggest beneficiaries. Again, in Ukambani, we are not lagging behind in development from this government. We are still part of the government development agenda. You in the place where you come from, you say that you come from Kitui. The government has constructed a 10,000-seater stadium in Kitui, the Idhoko Stadium. Not renovated, constructed from scratch. And again, the government has constructed a state lodge where he, sometimes back, maybe I guess he was in that state lodge. Again, the government has constructed the Kitui. In Kitui, the government, the President Ruto has constructed the Mbondoni Road, a road that passes through Sikuru, where his presidential candidates comes from. Stop interjecting. Allow me to have my time.
You are protected.
Yeah, I come from Makueni, and in Makueni, the government has constructed a road from my constituency. We have roads that are ongoing from the government, constructed by the same government. We have affordable housing. Our houses are propping up in Watertown, the headquarters of Makueni County. Now, I wanted again to talk about the opposition. I want first to talk about Kalonzo's presidency, briefly. Kalonzo has been in government for 40 years, and he has zero track record to show that he did for the people of Kenya. Again, I come from Ukambani. Kalonzo has been a leader, has been the self-proclaimed kingpin from our region. Kalonzo, we have faced perennial water shortages in our area. We don't have water. We don't have electricity. We have poor roads. And he has been government for all those years. He did not even lobby or even push for us to have something that we can say that Kalonzo did this when he was in power. And that person, we want to elect that person to lead a country that is now full of youth and full energetic youth, visionary youth who want our country to be propelled forward. And we want to elect someone who did not even push for any development project to be done. Okay. I think Kalonzo is not a candidate for us to again. There is Fred Matiang'i in the same opposition. Fred Matiang'i, he was the Minister for Interior when a Kenyan citizen was being deported from his own country. Miguna was deported from Kenya, and he is a Kenyan citizen by birth. And even the courts pronounced that you cannot deprive him his citizens by birth, his citizenship by birth. And the CS went ahead to defy the court orders and initiated and allowed Miguna to be deported. There are even videos on when he's at the airport being forced to move away from this country. That is person you want to elect as the president of this country. Again, we have Sifuna. Sifuna has been running in these Senate committees, talking about governors mismanaging funds. Yet, this Sifuna has never held any position where he can manage funds, and we see how he can manage funds. We cannot go and give Sifuna a budget of, let's say, 4 trillion to run this country, yet he has never managed CDA funds. That's all I have for the opposition.
well, thank you so much.
Nikimaliza.
Wacha nimalize huko alafu
nafasi ndarudi sawa. It's okay, host.
Okay. Yes, so thank you so much for those comments, by the way. They have been so insightful. Allow me at this point to bring in the panelists to also respond to your questions and also give their closing remarks. India, we can start with you, Eric Komolo.
Okay. When you say Mheshimiwa, I automatically go to Honorable Ogindo, who was my MP in Mangwe. years back. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the views I've heard from the Gen Zs. Obviously, quite a number of them have taken political stance. That is totally within your constitutional rights. In fact, it makes me happy that the constitution is working. You're able to do this and able to advocate for positions of your candidates. But at the end of the day, a country is governed by policies and the rule of law. So for the rule of law, I am considerably happy that the Constitution has safeguarded it. You may try to abuse it, and several government people in power have tried to do things outside the Constitution, but always the Constitution resets them by people going to court through public interest or aggrieved parties, and almost always the decisions are researched. So rule of law, we are relatively safe. You need to know that we are in a region where all the opposition candidates, except in Kenya, are in prison. You need to know that. Outside the excitement of your candidates, you need to know that in Uganda, the opposition candidate is in prison, so is Tanzania, so is home detention for the gentleman in South Sudan. I don't think I can speak much about Ethiopia and Somalia. The point is, we have freedoms here that must be safeguarded, and you must depersonalize the conversation so that it is not really about these individuals who are running for different offices, including the presidency. It's about safeguarding the country, and the only country that we have. If you travel a bit, you realize how beautiful Kenya is. But importantly, you also realize that Kenya is way ahead of other countries in safeguarding these basic freedoms. So you don't want a situation where you start becoming refugees. And you can easily do that by becoming overly partisan in a system where you elect people to deliver on a specific agenda. So going forward, whatever the conversation, ensure that Kenya remains a solid state governed by proper rule of law, a country that curbs things that bring societies down. One of them is corruption. The fact that somebody is in power and they use it to enrich themselves to the detriment of others eventually leads to disquiet. And that probably what led to Gen Z's perception that there was overtaxation and things like that. So you must safeguard Kenya first. Then you can deal with people who want to lead Kenya. If those who want to lead Kenya become polarizing, I think it is a wise decision to get rid of them and deal with elect people who are able to unite the country around a set of ideas, around a set of ideals, around a set of values. And those values can never really be reinvented. We already have them in Article 10 of the Constitution, the values that govern this country. Because those values will never be replaced. Because you know the court said we have a basic structure within the Constitution. So you can really not have another Constitution significantly altering this unless you have a national conversation. And the time does not seem to be ripe for that national conversation in the foreseeable future. So because those values can never really be replaced, and if you go against them, we'll remove you from power. And we regularly remove people from power here through elections and impeachment and things like that. Then the next thing you need to have a conversation about is what is really the manifesto of these guys who want to rule Kenya or rule or govern our countries or parliament. If you don't audit the manifesto, then you lack something to hold them to account. After elections, after elections, I think will be on 9th of August next year. What next after that? You can only hold somebody to what they committed in writing that they will do. And if you do say 50%, you justify why you would not do the other 50%. It could be because you are lying. It could be that circumstances changed. Circumstances do change. It could be natural disaster and things like that. So the Gen Zs, because the future is really yours, must move the conversation to strong manifestos, not emotions. I was here Uhuru Park in 2002 when we sang Yote Yawezekana. Bila Moi. I was there when Moi was there. I was there when Kibaki was being sworn. I was there when everyone around Moi was crying that he had left power. And a good number of us were actually happy that he was leaving. But I was also there 3 years later when those promises were broken and the country is disintegrated and people fought. That is when I started to disabuse myself of this idea that one person can really solve our problems. It must be institutions, it must be a set of manifestos, it must be through checks and balances. And these checks are already embedded in the Constitution and through citizen justice. So look at it that way. And I think if you look at it that way, there's a huge promise in where Kenya is headed. I am yet to see manifesto for the 2027 of the president. I listened to him talking that he's going to launch a conversation to replace Vision 2020, Vision 2030. That is 12 days, is 12th of August, just 10 days or so away. We are going to listen. We want to listen to that manifesto. The bottom up is gone because we just have 1 year to election. So let's look at the future. It was so eloquent. I expect very eloquent policies that we are going to hold into account should he be lucky to be elected next year. I also listened to Spooner on Wednesday on TV, and he kept saying, when he was being prodded about his manifestos, he kept saying that the following day morning they are going to meet experts that then will help them to craft a manifesto that then they will sell to us. That means the agenda for Kenya is yet to concretize. I'm waiting. Once he has some serious agenda, I expected him to have some basic ideas, at least so that the experts know where they start from. I didn't see that. But I will not hold it against him because I've also seen these waves in politics that start, go up, and so I'm not really part of the wave. Once he gets into his real manifesto, before we even talk about the united opposition, then I think we will start seeing whether he's a serious candidate or it's just another wave. So are the rest. Remember, somebody dismissed Hokia Mtata here, and somebody also dismissed Maraga. At the end of the day, these guys have a right to run for office. What they don't have is a right to be elected, because that is our right. So allow everyone to run. And I keep encouraging my own students to run for office, particularly MCA, because you have to start somewhere. This thing requires some familiarity. Run for office, including yourselves. Run for office. Try as much as possible to convince people to elect. If they don't elect you, as Joshua Nyamori and I here will tell you, you learn a lot. And of course, you learn a lot about people skills. And that skill itself is a life skill that then will help you to move to other things professionally going forward. I wish you well, and I wish REDRING Media well. I am convinced I'll be back here as a panelist in the foreseeable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's give a hand to Mr. Kokoyo. Yes, so you've been challenged to run for office, ndio. Nianze kuona maposta zenu. Alafu, I wish you the best of luck. Let's go to Joshua Nyamori, wakili, karibu.
Yeah, it's always difficult to speak after a teacher in an area you are learning in, isn't it? So, but you will allow me to say what I can. I want to start by telling you that I am extremely excited about the future of Kenya, to listen to these bright, young, courageous, and idealistic brains. And I want to encourage you to continue in that pursuit of your ideals. But as you do that, never forget to learn from the wisdom of the old, without letting that wisdom kill your initiative, because our experience has tempered with our ideals to the extent where sometimes we discourage you on certain things that are idealistic, but those things could be just the things that would change the society. So I would want to encourage you about that. But then as you do that, it is important to be strategic. I did attend the space when the president, appeared on space during the Gen Z crisis. And I concluded at the end that I would have behaved the way the young people behaved when I was young. But I thought that in doing that, the young people of this country lost an opportunity. You had the head of state, the president of the republic, spending 3 hours with you. And, he has all the, even at that time, he had all the executive authority. And then, because he's trying to find a solution to a national crisis. He's looking for partnership. And then young people spent 3 hours abusing the president, piling him with, insults and telling him how he does not deserve to be in that office and how they were going to take over. But I listened and tried to listen keenly as how young people were going to take over. And all I could hear is that we are leaderless, we are partyless, we are tribeless. And so I asked, so how are they going to take over? And so the president left the space, and Honorable Raila Odinga appeared in the scene. And Honorable Raila Odinga appeared in the scene with a structure, a national structure that goes to 40,000 polling centers across the country, with a significant number in parliament, with, what I would call an emotional following behind him that would follow what he says, including those young people who are in space. And, with ability to sober down and sit down and engage. So he engaged. And when he engaged, the president offered him, how many cabinet positions were there? Were there 9 cabinet positions, almost 17 plus PSS positions, 26 PSS positions, and then, positions in as CEOs, members and chairmen of state corporations. That is where power belongs. Power does not belong in the space. Power does not belong in the streets. And so, out of that, and out of their goodwill, both of them, they decided to give Firi, it's called Firi? The PS for Fikirini Jacobs a position. And he was a young man, but not out of negotiation by young people. It was out of, a feeling that let's give something to young people. I would want to encourage you that next time you have you have an opportunity, negotiate, appreciate the other side, and take those spaces. Never reject a position to sit on the table. Because when you are not on the table, no one will negotiate for you. Okay? Now, I have also listened to your feelings about the president, and I would want to join the panelists who said that we need to also hear your feeling about these other candidates. Okay? In my language, we say, if you allow me to say it in Luo, Sembe ipi moginyamin. And Sembe ipi moginyamin is that when you want to measure the length of a ship's tail, you can only measure it by comparing it and contrasting it with the length of another ship's tail, so that you say that a ram, it's a ram, it's a ram, sorry. So that you say that this ram has a long tail, this one has a short tail, okay? So we need to compare President William Ruto with past presidents and then present candidates who are running against him. And I can tell you, as somebody who has lived through the Kenyatta, the Moi, the Kibaki, and the Uhuru presidency, that we have never gotten a better candidate than President William Ruto. One, we have a president who is courageous enough. We have a president who is willing to see beyond the moment, the comfort of the moment, and think about the future, however uncomfortable that future is going to make us now. We have a president who has opened the space for everybody. Other presidents were willing to fill the house with only their ethnic, loyalists, and collect tax from the entire country, and then build one part of the country. And I'm never ashamed to talk about this because that's the reality. That if you are, and because you are young people, go to the internet, look for a report called Pulling Apart by Society for International Development. It was published in 2013 at the end of the Kibaki regime. And what did that report say? It said that the life expectancy in Mount Kenya was 87%, while if the life expectancy in Nyanza, Luo Nyanza, was 36%. Life expectancy is defined by access to hostel, access to food, access to medicine, access to roads, access to clean water, and so on and so forth. Then it said that while at least 98% of women in Kiambu had at least basic education, 98% of women in Turkana did not have basic education. That means a lot to the lives of even the children who are raised by these women. Ability of these women to earn a living. Okay, it talks about the fact that while this, I think Kiambu, the doctor to a patient ratio was I can't remember the figure, but it was very little. So that one doctor just had to treat very few people. I think it was something like 2,000. In Turkana, or one of the counties in the northeastern, it was one doctor to 120,000 people. Okay, and that doctor, for you to move from one part of the county to the other to get that doctor, you will have to move through bandit-driven areas. The president is changing this. He's building infrastructure everywhere. He's building employment. He's employed teachers. Where Kibaki, Moi, Uhuru, Kenyatta employed 1,000 teachers, 2,000 teachers. In 3 years, the president employed 100,000 teachers. Okay, when young people, 640,000 young people who should be mugging people in the streets, are busy working the whole day, and on Friday they earn something. They spend that money on the local economy. When they spend that money on the local economy, there's an economist called John Maynard Keynes. You need to read him. He says that money has to be spent in the economy so that money spread and money grows by being spent. Okay, so according to him, he said that when the economy is in a depression, the government should even take money and put in bottles and then dig them into the trenches, and then tell people that go out there and dig the trenches, and whatever bottle you get, what money you get inside it is yours. Because when they get that money, they will spend it, and as they spend it, money will multiply. So as I told you, I have these young people that I have been mentoring and supporting, but now they can buy me lunch. Now they can give me a tip. I told you one gave me a tip of 20,000 shillings. It doesn't happen every day, okay? But it's a reality that happened. Okay, because of President William Ruto. And that reality is happening across the country. Then, so what am I trying to tell you? That I have faith that the president is laying the foundation that we need for Kenya's takeover. I would want to encourage you young people to take seriously the speech by the president just the other day when he addressed the nation. I listened to it as a student of constitutional law, and also listen to it as a student of economics. And right now I am doing the research on my thesis on what I'm calling housing for who. And I'm trying to find the convergence of, constitutional law and economics in what the president is doing in affordable housing. Okay, so when I heard him speak about the charter, I realized the president has completely changed the narrative. While least from before 2010 and after 2010, all we are speaking about is how can the constitution constrain power? Okay, how do we put people in office? How do we prevent them from abusing power? That has been the conversation. But what the president has done is to reopen our eyes that the constitution is much bigger than getting people to office and constraining them on the use and exercise of discretion. He has put forward a question that what is the measurable deliverables that a citizen should expect from our constitution? Can we have that discussion as a country and then put standards, put levels and measure? For instance, if you go to Article 43, and I'm happy that we have students of law here, one article that I would want you to engage with is Article 43 on the socioeconomic rights. So when you say the right to housing, what is the level that the government, the national both and the county government, have to deliver for we to say that they have delivered the right to housing? How much help is enough help? When we say under Article 21 that some of those that these rights are progressive, and therefore the government just needs to justify that indeed they are delivering progressively. How do we measure that progression? Okay, so that the government does not move from delivering as Uhuru Kenyatta, Moi, Kibaki, and the old Kenyatta would deliver 3 to 4 houses, or deliver only housing for the very rich, while it's leave the poor in slums. What would be the standard of housing that we require? How many of those houses have to be delivered? To what extent is a citizen entitled to that house, and how would it be created? Those are discussions we can have under this window that the president has opened for us on discussing the charter for this new constitution, for the delivery of this new constitution. So I would end by saying that we have the constitution. We have agreed on what the constitution should deliver. But beyond that, as the president said, the constitution promises us not only political stability, it also promises us economic prosperity. And if it promises socioeconomic prosperity, it is important to ask ourselves, how do we create economic prosperity? For 3 years, this government has succeeded in macroeconomic stability, so that the interest rates are stable, so that the shilling is stable, so that the debt, external debt, is managed, and so that agricultural production is increased. The question is, how does that create wealth, and how do we redistribute that wealth so that it is available for everybody? It is scandalous. For instance, this morning I was having a discussion with a friend of mine from Kisumu, and we were discussing the penetration and the load of electricity in Mount Kenya vis-a-vis the penetration and the load of electricity in Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, and Migori. And it's scandalous that for Kenya Power to light up the estates in Kisumu, it must switch off power from the industrial areas. But and for them to allow industries to run during the day, they must switch off power from certain neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods. While least Kiambu, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, and so on have more power than they will need for industrialization, for agriculture, for domestic use for the next 20 to 30 years. You get my point? It is scandalous that power that they do not need in Mount Kenya was created by taxation from by people from my constituency, which is Kisumu Central constituency, and from Kitui, and from Homa Bay, and from Turukana. Whilst the benefit go to only one part of the country. This is the only president that is giving us opportunity to redistribute that wealth. And you young people have to take that opportunity to engage intellectually and ensure that we not only create wealth, but that wealth is redistributed to the rest of the country. And this is a discussion you can run with. I would want to therefore urge the young people of this country that you have an opportunity to sit on the table. And the president specified it, that he wants to engage young people on it. Rather than joining the opposition in piling abuses and insults and discontent on the president, rush and take that table. Because, by the way, if you delay, those guys in the opposition will rush and take that space and negotiate with the president. And they have done it before. We saw Nadiko. Who was co-chairing Nadiko? Kalonzo Musyoka. Okay? So right now, I think you guys in the last 2 weeks have had people saying, Kalonzo. You've heard of it. There's a guy on social media called The Don. Yes. And you know what? This process of negotiating this, Kalonzo might just use it to get into a coalition arrangement with the president. So shouldn't you, as the majority of Kenyans, organize yourself, go and sit down with the president, tell the president, we buy into your new vision. We would want to project it to be even longer and better than what you are saying. And we want to sit with you on the table, deliver your re-election, but on condition that that cabinet will be a young cabinet that shows that you are willing to hand over power in 2032 to a younger generation, our age mate, so that we take this country to the next level. Otherwise, experience has taught me, I was as idealistic as you, that you will make noise in the streets, you will write so much on social media, but these guys that you are supporting in the opposition will use the numbers that you helped them get to negotiate with President William Ruto and get their space. Otherwise, the truth is, right now, as we sit here, no one, and I can tell you no one, can beat President William Ruto. Why? And that I'm old enough, I've seen several elections, no one can beat President William Ruto because he's the only one running on a national platform. He's the only one with a national structure, bound by two strong political parties that participated in the last election. And therefore, they are the only ones, that coalition, that can reach over 40,000 plus polling centers. Elections are not won by noise on TV or noise on social media. Elections are won by, at the end of the campaign, on that election day, how many people do you have in the 45,000 polling stations who will get out people to vote? And the other thing is that Matiang'i is trying to strengthen himself in Nyamira. And these guys go to Nyamira and they declare Matiang'i as the president in Nyamira. Okay? And nowhere else has he gone beyond Nyamira and even reached Oyugis. Nothing. Kalonzo Musyoka is defending himself in Kitui. He's fighting so hard so that Ukambani does not leave him. And he has this belief. He's the only politician who has always wanted to be president without working hard for it. Okay? All he does is to try and crush anybody, any young person who tries to take over his space in Ukambani. So that he believes, I'm told he says, that a prophet told him that he will one day be president and that the Kenya owes him the presidency. We need to tell Kalonzo Musyoka, if he wants to be president, he needs to campaign in my village of Nyamware or the slum I grew in Kisumu called Manyata. If he cannot reach Manyata and he cannot reach Nyamware, he should forget about it. Then you tell me about Rigathi Gachagua. I mean, it's an insult. It's an insult to our nationhood. to even have somebody like Rigathi Gachagua being considered for presidency. You know, it's an insult. The guy should be completely banished to a bottomless pit, buried and forgotten for abusing our nationhood and promoting ethnicity. Then, Sifuna, I sympathize with that young man. Sincerely sympathize with him. Because if you want to know the strength of a leader, if noise on social media, on TV, and in markets were to make anybody president, then Peter Kenneth would have been president. Because people just loved his face. And then, you know, in 2013, with everybody thought that Peter Kenneth would be president. When the votes were counted, when the time came, Peter Kenneth finished at distance. Did he even get 20,000 votes? I doubt. How much?
I think he was sixth or something.
Yes, I don't think he even got to 20,000 votes. James Orengo should tell them the story. There is nobody who has led a street movement like James Orengo. In 2000, as we went to 2002, he was leading what was called the Muungano ya Mageuzi. It was a huge thing, you know, but in markets, so every market day would appear. The way right now Leader Mwananchi appears, they target a market day and appear in that town during a market day. Okay? So Rengo would do that. And when votes were finally counted, Kenyans gave him 24,000 votes, isn't it? 24,000 votes. So 24,000 votes. So literally, the Linda Mwananchi has no, and you do. I sympathize with the young people who are following that because they do not realize they are being manipulated. Initially, this guy's propped up Babu, and Babu was, you know, like the next president, you know. And then they realized that they had a problem with Babu. I do not know whether it is the tribe that they had a problem with or anything. So what they do is that the media is then instructed, and they are very good in managing the media. They pull Babu to the back burner, and then they give you another poster boy. And then they tell you, Sisi ni Sifuna. And all of us buy it and start singing, Sisi ni Sifuna. Wewe ni Sifuna. Sifuna is a senator. He's earning $1 million bob. He sits in a committee where what they do is to extort from governors. And when the governors told the sad story that one of the worst extortionists that they had to deal with in that committee was Sifuna. But every time somebody says that, the media would then splash out a headline on you that Sisi ni Sifuna is taking over. And it is choreographed to an extent where young people think that Sifuna is representing their interest. Sifuna is representing the interest of those who control the media in this country. And those who control the media in this country have never been William Ruto's friends. If the media was to decide who becomes the president, then William Ruto would have not been president. Mm-hmm. So if the media did not decide who becomes president in 2022, they are definitely not going to decide who becomes the media of the president in 2027. I can assure you, I have done my math, and I am very scientific in sometimes analyzing the politics, that in 2032, President William Ruto will start his last term. And as he starts his last term, the people who work with President Ruto now will stand a better chance to negotiate themselves into spaces that will allow them to define President William Ruto's succession and therefore lead Kenya for the 10 years after 2032 to 2042. So as young people, you need to make a choice. Are you going to be amongst those who will remain making noise along the streets? Or are you going to join President William Ruto, work with him, and then be able to manage his succession so that you remain on the table as he exits into retirement? Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that was very, very important for us to have. I want to invite Mheshimiwa to give us his remarks, but before I do, maybe I can read 2 or 3 comments hapa. Naona mtu amesema hapa Americus Kujuadi. Americus Juadi anasema these Kalonzos have nothing to offer. Steven Muller anasema President William Ruto must be re-elected again since development is doing is evident. Anita Kiragu, Ruto my president. And then finally Kelvin Alulu anasema with all due respect, I believe President Ruto should be re-elected for a second term to continue implementing his vision and development agenda for the country. Let's have Mheshimiwa speak to us, and then finally we can have Mwalimu.
Thank you, Tony, for the invite. And I'm very excited to engage with this robust young men that are here. I know the younger generation have the benefit of two important things. They have the ideas and they have the energy. I want to just advise that you need to temper these ideas with the wisdom that you get from the older generation and the history that they have. Because ideas remain ideas until you try to test them and find that some of these ideas cannot work in practical life. Tony, I want to address myself to the question that was the original question, which is the presidency for this country. How should it look like? And I'm saying this because we are 1 year towards the election.
Yeah.
And I can see two formations here. On the one hand, I see people who are asking, what is it that we want done to us in the next 5 years? And I also see a group of people who are saying to themselves, Ruto must go. And I think those are the two formations shaping our politics getting into 2027.
Yeah.
But I must say that we want to judge President Ruto on what he is doing. And I think Ruto has demonstrated creativity in progressing this country. Today, we are just about to end the implementation of Vision 2030. And President Ruto has taken it upon himself to launch the next vision for this country, where he has invited all manner of people from this country, and we are going to engage in an intergenerational vision formulation. The 2030 vision was formulated in a boardroom. At least today we are having an opportunity where the young people are going to take part. And I want to advise the young people that you need to concretize your ideas by the time you reach there. Don't get into the podium and start thinking of what to say. Prepare yourself ahead of time. And the next thing is that I would want to see a continuation of the implementation of the infrastructure projects that are going on in the country. Because we see certain parts of this country have been marginalized for the longest. And we know what infrastructure can do in unlocking the economic potential of regions. The reason why central Kenya is the way it is because of the penetration of infrastructure development. You see the number of roads, you see the electricity, you see the water, you see the health facilities, you see the educational facilities. You compare this with the rest of the country and you see the marginalization. And out of this, I can say it has come from what I now call the power privilege. Central Kenya has enjoyed the power privilege, which they have used to convert that privilege into economic privilege. The rest of the country that have not seen power are languishing in poverty. And that is why when President Ruto comes in and he wants to take infrastructure development to the hinterland of this country, to northeastern, to western, to Nyanza, to eastern, to Coast Province, we celebrate him. We celebrate him because he's unlocking the economic potential in our regions. Otherwise, we will not be crowding here in Nairobi if we had economic opportunities in our regions. And that is the continuation we want. to see in this country. And the power privilege, I think, has been taken as an entitlement in this country. I saw the Nyeri governor literally frothing on the both corners of his mouth, saying that how come the president is paying off sugarcane debts in western part of the country. And yet, if audit was to be done, Central Kenya has enjoyed the most subsidies in agriculture, in dairy farming, and that explains why they are where they are. Today, you can see the economy of Kiambu County is bigger than the economy of Eastern Province, Makueni, Kitui, and Machakos put together. The economy of Kiambu County is bigger than the economy of Kisumu, Siaya, Migori, and Homa Bay put together. That economy is bigger than the economy of Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Lamu, and Tana River put together. And President Ruto has made it an affirmative action that the rest of the country must also be unlocked so that the people can enjoy the same economic privileges being enjoyed in Central Kenya. And that is why when Kenya got independence, up to 2000, I think we had only 4 state lodges: the State House, the Nakuru State Lodge, the Sagana State Lodge, and the Mombasa State Lodge. Today, President Ruto is deliberate in liberating power and dispersing power. We have a state lodge in Homa Bay, Kisumu. We have a state lodge coming up in Meru. We have a state lodge scheduled to come up in Kitui. And that means we are dispersing power so that the rest of the country can get used to power. I can bet my left hand that the president today has visited other parts of this country, other counties of this country, more than the previous presidents combined. The trip the president has made to Wajir, Mandera, Garissa, is more than the rest of the presidents combined. And that is to make people feel the power of their country. The investment he's doing in these parts of the country are unprecedented. And it is on this account that we are saying we need stability, we need continuity, we want vision that is being cobbled to take us into the next level, 2060, Vision 2060. And we want to participate in all that together. But before we get to that vision, we need the completion of the projects. The Rironi, Mau Summit Road, Malava, Kisumu, the SGR, the Dwake Dam in Eastern, the roads going on in Meru, the roads going on in Northeastern. We want this completed before we can get the interruption that are being promised to this country by the Gachagwas. I end it there.
Well, thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for that very elaborate yet compelling presentation and for giving us a lot of tangible things we can actually see. I think that was also important for you, Cindy. Finally, let us have Mwalimu also talk to us. Mwalimu is our final speaker and also happens to be our convener. Karibu, Mwalimu.
Young women and men, I always speak things that I want you to take home. Even though we came here to discuss about what we should look for in a presidential candidate and a president, it will also be fair that we talk about those you must never even consider. Yes, because we know a great talker is a great liar. You cannot have a person who call up to 3 press conferences in a day to speak about another person. Also, we must remember a great critic is also a non-performer. If you get somebody who shapes himself into the greatest critic in the world, then that person, you must be very careful about him. They will criticize, but themselves, they will do nothing. you must also ignore people with no track records. To be president of the Republic of Kenya, you must be an adult. An adult must have a track record, even if it was at university. You must have even been a leader there. Otherwise, you don't fit anywhere. So somebody must have a track record to come and tell us, when I was this is what I achieved. When I was this is what I did. But you have heard people talk about those who are queuing at the door to replace President William Ruto. Nobody has a track record. And even those who pretend to have so cannot even mention them. So that is also another person we must ignore. There are also people who have failed to succeed even in their own personal family businesses. One such person is James Orengo. Even his law firm never took off. You would walk into his law office and find he's sitting there alone, not even with a secretary. If it were not for Raila Odinga, he would be nobody. But then they have chosen to use him. Then a divisive person. Even if you feel the division is in your interest. Because he can come to you and tell you, we as cousins, we as community, please ignore such a person. Because naturally human beings, after you finish dividing the country, you start dividing the region. After you finish dividing the region, you start dividing the community. After you finish dividing the community, you start dividing families. That is how divisive people are. So don't think when he's dividing the country, he will not divide the region or he will not divide the communities. He will. Then there are also people we call perennial opposers. They will oppose Ruto today. If the next day somebody comes in, he will oppose that one. If the next day somebody comes in, he will oppose that one until death do him part with opposition. Such people, ignore them. A person who opposes development projects in favor of unverifiable things. Unverifiable things are those glittering generalities they say. That no, we want the rule of law, we want democracy, we want those. All those things they are talking about, they want. They are only granted by a constitution and a judiciary ready to uphold that constitution. I have heard people saying that the president must implement the constitution. The constitution is self-implementing. Ikifika wakati wa uchaguzi, itafanywa kulingana na katiba. So do not tell any leader to implement the constitution. The constitution is self-implementing. It has date, it has times, it has rules, it has regulations, it has also laws that you can make to operationalize them. Then there are also one thing I want to ask before I move to page 2 of what I wanted to say. There was a man called Kalonzo Musyoka. He rose up to the DP of Kibaki, vice president. What stopped him from running for president after that? Because he's waiting for somebody to prop him. He is waiting to be somebody's running mate. He's waiting for somebody to give him money to run. Please, get a leader, don't get a follower to be president of this country. But anyway, give him benefit of doubt that it can be. But is there a project to his name? Because the only project I know to Kalonzo's name is sponsoring a bill in parliament to ban the nation newspapers from reporting parliamentary proceedings. Sometimes when you talk about positions people hold and what they did in those positions, you must also know the powers and roles of those positions. Because you may have a chairman, a non-executive chairman, and you want to accuse him of why an organization has failed. When the chief executor, the executive officer of that position, is somebody else. So don't say, oh, he was this and he didn't do that. He was this and he didn't do that. Have you checked out what is his role in that position? What is his powers and privileges in that position? Today we have seen people blaming the president for crimes committed by the judiciary. And that is an autonomous organization that has even stopped the president from doing certain things. I, of course, know that without development projects, the president will be criticized. But when he tries to put them, I hear people asking, at what cost? At what cost? Do you want the government to donate for you that money the project is being used? And let me tell you what propagandists do. They give you certain things that you are not going to verify. and they sound very serious. Like they once told you, look, Talanta Stadium is being built at 45 billion, but when we finish paying, it will be 100. Tell me, if you borrow 45 billion now, what would you pay the owner of that money in 30 years? Tell me. We are borrowing money to build Talanta. It cost 45 billion. In 30 years, what would be the cost? That is homework. Then finally, and very important, there are 3 statements I want to make. Number 1, the reason why sometimes we talk to people and they don't change is because people resist changing their views. Because changing their views threatens their social ties. There are people you love, there are people you like, there are people you are with in a political formation, in a political party. So if you change your views, you have to get away from them. And you know, naturally, we feel secure when the people around us agree with us or share our vision or share our beliefs. So you find somebody has said, actually, Mheshimiwa Ogendo made sense. Actually, he made sense. But I can't join him because I have decided that I am 2-term.
No, 1 term.
No. I have decided I'm 2-term. He is 1 term and he said something very sensible. But I refuse to join him because I want to be in my social circles. I want to remain around people who share my views. But another thing I want to say, there is a man called Rigathi Gachagua. He's that man who believes that there is a Mount Kenya East and there are Mount Kenya West. But Mount Kenya West is a first world and a Mount Kenya East is a third world. That is Gachagua for you. So he needs this for economic purposes, for political purposes, but for benefit purposes, he only needs Mount Kenya West. So that, take it home and see what you can deal with it. But finally, and most important, I want to tell you, these platforms that have been provided today to criticize President William Ruto, the one Sifuna uses to go around the country, the one you use on social media and on the internet, the ones that they have provided the media today to provide you whenever you are criticizing the president, the ones that have been denied to me as a proponent of the government, that platform, you will never see it after 2027 election. I have heard some of you saying, no, even the person we elect, if he doesn't behave, we will also do to him what we did to Ruto. The platform you use to criticize Ruto, you will not see it again. You will not find a media house which will invite you because you are criticizing this current president, because all this is sponsored. And last week when I was sitting here, I told those who are here that there are 3 ways of mobilizing people to a rally. One is the Raila Odinga style: organic, homogeneous, and natural. You just tell them Raila Odinga will be in Kirembe, it will be full. Number 2 is the Gladys Wanga style. You provide vehicles, you provide incentives, and you carry them to the site. After the rally, you abandon them there. The third one is the Sifuna style. It is modern, it is electronic, it is algorithmic. It uses an algorithm. It uses social media. And when you open the internet, all you see is Sifuna is going to be in Western, and all the young people go there. Those 3 methods will disappear except the last one. They will not be there after 2027 because they are sponsored, they are paid for, there's funds made for them. You heard the other day when ODM was making noise, oh, now we want running mate, now we want running mate. What they want is not running mate. What they want is somebody is telling them, here is some money, go and do Linda Ground. Thank you.
Well, give a round of applause for our panelists and for ourselves. Sindio, tuongeze energy kidogo jamani. Najua tumechoka, but Sindio, thank you so much to our panel. I don't know, Mheshimiwa, you want 10 seconds, eh?
Yeah, yes, 10 seconds. I forgot something very profound, Tony, and thank you for indulging me. You know, in the recent past, I've seen very profound policy initiatives by the president that I need to applaud. Number 1, the formulation of the National Infrastructure Fund. I think that's a game changer that we need to see how it transforms Kenya. The second one is the sovereign wealth. And I think this need to be celebrated by the youth of this country because there's somebody thinking about them so that the wealth of this country is not consumed by the present generation to the expense. And the last one, which I think is my pet policy initiative, is the free tertiary education that has just been introduced by His Excellency the President. I think this is going to be a game changer in the wider Western region because we have people who have skills, but because they cannot go to formal training institutions, they are stranded with these skills. And I think it is time for the people of Nyanza, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisumu, and Siaya to start putting up TVETs so that we can have these institutions closer home. Otherwise, we will miss out. I thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think that was really important. Let us give ourselves a round of applause for staying to this level. Sindio, asanteni sana. It has been a pleasure having all of you. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation and for coming. To our panelists also, we appreciate you for your insights. It is our hope that this is not the last time you are joining us for such conversations. And also to our productions team, Jamal, Odur, Errol Ochieng, and also Wycliffe Nyagol. Thank you so much for being with us and for ensuring that everything is set up in the right manner. That's all we had time for today. Oh, allow me also to appreciate not in a small way, the following who have been watching us online. Elijah Obwogo at Texas, Warhouse, Anderus Kujuadi, Stephen Omulo, Kelvin Alulu, Anita Kiragu, Philip Leo, Otino K.E., and the rest of the others who I'm not able to mention at the moment. I know Kina Ambrose have equally been watching, Joan Obunga, Santeni Sana. That's all we have time for today. That has been Face to Face with the Gen Z, Red Ring TV. Stay tuned, keep it here. For now, we say bye-bye, but this is not the last edition. Till next time, next Saturday, same place, same time, join us for such amazing conversation. My name is Tony Blair Onyango, and I've been your host, and that has been What Makes a President Worth Electing. Asanteni sana, and goodbye.